Chapter 3107. Along the way they encountered all sorts of beasts. Sovereign realm beasts were everywhere, but none of them attacked Qin Feiyang. It was indeed as Zhao Eryong said. With the barrier set up by the Alliance head, be it the people from the Wandering Cultivator Alliance or the beasts here, they wouldn't expect anyone to sneak in. Then, they would naturally think that Qin Feiyang and Madman were from the Alliance capital. Not long later, the two of them met many people. Some were in groups of 3 to 5 while some were walking alone. They were basically there to train. When they saw Madman and Qin Feiyang, regardless of whether they knew them or not, they would greet them from afar. Qin Feiyang was surprised. The people from the Wandering Cultivator Alliance seemed to be quite harmonious. Harmonious? How many people have you seen so far? We will only know when we enter the Alliance capital if they are really harmonious. Madman pouted and then said, "Don't change the topic. Taking advantage of me, I am not done with you. Don't be so petty. When I thought of this name, I really didn't have any other thoughts." Qin Feiyang was helpless. "Only a fool would believe your nonsense." Madman snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang was speechless. He really didn't mean it. Why didn't he believe him? He wasn't a kid, so was there a need to take advantage of him? An hour quickly passed. A majestic ancient city finally entered their line of sight. The city covered an area of tens of thousands of miles, and was divided into 5 districts, namely the East District, West District, South District, North District, and Central District. Compared to the ice and snow outside the city, the inside was completely different. Flowers bloomed like brocade, and there were layers upon layers of trees. It was a scene of spring. On the street, there was an endless stream of people and carriages. It was extremely lively. The city gate that Qin Feiyang and Li Qia were at was the Eastern City Gate. In front of the gate, there was a stone tablet that was hundreds of feet tall. There were 2 grand words carved on it. Alliance Capital. "This is the Alliance Capital. I am really looking forward to it," Madman muttered. In front of the gate there were no guards. There were all kinds of people, but even so, everyone consciously maintained order and entered the city in an orderly manner. "There aren't even guards?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Wrong. Look at the city wall." Madman glanced at the city wall above the city gate with a trace of seriousness in his eyes. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look, and his pupils immediately shrank. A black-haired old man sat cross-legged on top of the city wall. His eyes were slightly narrowed, and his entire body was emitting a suffocating pressure. Qin Feiyang and Li Wuyo could not see through his cultivation at all. However, from the aura he emitted, they could tell that the old man's cultivation was stronger than Zhao Eryong's, but slightly weaker than Elder Hua's. Obviously, the old man was an unparalleled peak dominator. A peak dominator is definitely more effective than a guard. The Alliance capital is heaven for the members of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, but it's a tiger's den for us. Madman thought. Even if it's a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, I still have to go. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He followed Madman into the back of the crowd and entered the city. The moment they passed through the city gate and entered the city, a warm current rushed toward them. Compared to the bone-chilling weather outside, the city was extremely comfortable. A light breeze blew over, like a spring breeze caressing his face. "Brother, come in and take a look. We have good jade, beauty, we have many exquisite accessories in our shop. Come in and take a look." There were all kinds of shops on both sides of the street, and the items inside were dazzling. Some were hawking, some were bargaining, and it was extremely lively. From the looks of it, it is quite harmonious. Madman muttered. "Who cares if it's harmonious or not? Sense it carefully. The crystal vein and soul line energy in the city is many times denser than outside." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Madman was slightly taken aback. He carefully sensed it, and his eyes flashed. "Let me check with my divine sense." "Are you crazy? There are so many people and you dare to release your divine sense?" Qin Feiyang glared at him. Releasing one's divine sense in such a place would definitely attract the attention of others. Madman's expression froze, and he smiled embarrassedly. "Sorry, I was too excited and didn't think of it. Let's find Zhao Eryong's family first, then discuss the next step of the plan," Qin Feiyang secretly said. He grabbed a young man next to him and smiled. Brother, where is Lord Zhaoyong's home? Zhaoyong. The young man was slightly taken aback. After thinking for a while, he asked, Are you talking about the Zhaoyong who guards the border? Yes. We came from the West City, so we don't know the exact location of Lord Zhao's home. Qin Feiyong nodded. Lord Zhao's home is in the suburbs. Keep walking down the street on the left. When you see a quiet courtyard, you can ask someone. The young man smiled. Thank you, brother. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and smiled. You're welcome. The young man waved his hand and turned to leave. Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other and also turned to the left street. They didn't stop on the road. After traveling for more than 100 miles, the number of people on the street gradually decreased. The shops on both sides also gradually decreased. A moment later, finally, they saw a secluded courtyard. Individual courtyards were neatly arranged. Each courtyard was surrounded by wooden fences. Some courtyards were planted with fruit trees. The red fruits emitted a faint fruit fragrance. Some courtyards were planted with flowers and plants. There were about 10,000 courtyards in the entire area. There were trees on both sides of the road. There were children playing on the side of the road. There were old people sitting in the shade drinking tea, playing chess and chatting. It was exceptionally peaceful. Qin Feiyong walked to the side of two old men playing chess and looked at the chessboard curiously. One of the old men was full of smiles. The other old man had a worried look. The smiling old man said, Can you do it? If you can't, just admit defeat. Shut up, don't disturb my thoughts. The worried-looking old man glared at the old man without hiding anything. This is already a dead end, what are you still thinking about? The smile on the old man's face became wider. Haven't you heard of coming back from the dead? The worried old man glared at the other party again, and then continued to look at the chessboard. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong said, Although it seems to be a dead end, it's not that there's no chance. The two old men were slightly stunned. They raised their heads and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Two elders, can this junior make a move? Do you know how to? The smiling old man looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. If this little brother doesn't know how to, do you dare to speak? The worried old man glared at the smiling old man, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, Little brother, let me see if you can help me revive this chessboard. Qin Feiyong nodded. After carefully observing for a while, he picked up a black chess piece and placed it somewhere on the chessboard. Immediately, a dead-end game was revived just like that. The smiling old man's expression froze. The worried old man was also stunned, and then he clapped his hands and applauded. Put yourself in a dead end and fight to live. This move is wonderful. Then, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyong, and praised, Little brother, I really didn't know that you were proficient in this. No. It's just that when I was bored as a child, I played with my father. Qin Feiyong hurriedly waved his hand. As the prince of the great Qin, he was naturally proficient in everything. It's indeed amazing. The smiling old man nodded and looked at Qin Feiyong with a smile. Then let's play a few games. No. This junior still has something to deal with, so I won't disturb you two elders. This junior just wants to ask, where is Lord Zhaoyong's home? Qin Feiyong said. The two of them were slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, Who are you to Zhaoyong? Qin Feiyong smiled calmly and said, I am Zhao Yang's friend. I came from the West City to look for him. So it's like that. Compared to you, that brat Zhaoyong is far inferior. The two of them shook their heads. Why do you say that? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. Aren't you his friend? Don't you know that he is a loafer with nothing to do? All you know is to follow a group of scoundrels, eat, drink, and play all day long. The two of them shook their heads. Everyone has their own good. Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. Their house is in the first house at the intersection ahead. You can go and find it yourself. The smiling old man said. Thank you. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and thanked him, then followed the madman and left quickly. Why is such a polite young man hanging out with a scum like Zhaoyong? The smiling old man looked at Qin Feiyong's back, shook his head and sighed. Why do you care so much about young people's affairs? Hurry up, it's your turn. This time I will definitely beat you, old man. The worried old man was no longer worried, and his face was full of a smug smile. Dozens of breaths later, Qin Feiyong and the madman walked to the intersection and looked at both sides. Above the door of the courtyard on the left, the words Zhao House were engraved. It should be here. The madman looked at the courtyard. The courtyard covered an area of about 300 feet, surrounded by high wooden fences, and there were a few peach trees planted inside. Some of the peaches had matured and were bright red. On the side, there was a pavilion with carved beams and painted rafters, quite exquisite. Inside there was a 3-story loft. The gate of the courtyard was closed. Qin Feiyong stepped forward and gently knocked on the gate of the courtyard. "Who is it?" After a while, a woman came out of the attic. The woman was wearing a white long dress, her long hair was tied up, looking dignified and elegant. That's right. She was Zhao Eryong's wife Wang Shui. Creak. When the gate of the courtyard opened, Wang Shui looked at Qin Feiyong and the madman. Her expression was slightly stunned, and asked suspiciously, "You are?" Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "We were asked by Lord Zhao Eryong to come and find you." Wang Shui was slightly stunned, and quickly retreated to the side saying, "Come in and talk." The two nodded and entered the courtyard. After Wang Shui closed the gate, she led the two into the attic hall and said with a smile, "Wait a moment, I'll make a pot of tea." "No need to be so troublesome." Qin Feiyong quickly waved his hand. "All right then." Wang Shui nodded, and then asked nervously, "Did something happen to Eryong?" "Madam, don't be nervous, Zhao Eryong is fine." Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. Chapter 3108. It really scared me to death. I thought something had happened to him. Wang Shui heaved a sigh of relief and asked with a smile, "How should I address you?" "My name is Mo Wuji." "His name is Mo." Qin Feiyong laughed. "You are brothers?" Wang Shui looked at the two of them curiously. "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded. "Who is your brother?" Madman secretly stared at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong ignored him and scanned the hall. He looked at Wang Shui and asked, "Where is your son Zhao Yang and your daughter Zhao Xiaojin? Why don't I see them?" "Xiaojin is cultivating upstairs." As for Yang, at this point Wang Shui revealed a worried look and said, "I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. That good-for-nothing brat, who knows where he is fooling around now?" "Good for nothing?" Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. Could it be that he was a delinquent youth? He asked, "Then can we find him now?" Wang Shui hesitated for a moment, then stood up and smiled. "Then wait a moment, I'll get Xiaojin to send a message to him." "All right." Qin Feiyong nodded. Wang Shui turned around and quickly went upstairs. She walked to a door and gently knocked on it. "I'm here." A clear and pleasant voice came from inside. Wang Shui pushed the door open and entered. She saw a young woman with a hot figure, dressed in tight clothes, sitting cross-legged on a praying mat. "Mother, what's the matter?" Zhao Xiaojin looked at Wang Shui suspiciously. Wang Shui closed the door and said in a low voice, "There are two strange young people outside. They are asking around. I have to send a message to your father to confirm." "Strange people?" Zhao Xiaojin was startled and immediately stood up. Wang Shui took out the sound transmission crystal. Buzz. Not long later, Zhao Eryong's figure appeared. Seeing that it was Wang Shui, Zhao Eryong understood and asked, "Are there two young people called Mo Wuhui and Mo Wuji who came to our house?" "Yes. I was just about to ask you, who are they?" Wang Shui nodded. "Why do women ask so much? You just have to remember whatever they say, you just have to do," Zhao Eryong said. "Father, you don't look too good. Did something happen?" Zhao Xiaojin suddenly asked. "You're as talkative as your mother." Zhao Eryong glared at Zhao Xiaojin. "Mom gave birth to me. If I'm not like Mom, then who am I like?" Zhao Xiaojin pouted. All right. Zhao Eryong shook his head helplessly and sighed. "Anyway, just listen to them. Don't make this matter public, or it will bring us a lot of trouble." "All right." Both mother and daughter nodded. "So be it. Finish speaking." Zhao Eryong turned off the sound transmitting Godstone. "Mother, why is it that the more I look at Father's face, the more I feel that something is wrong?" Zhao Xiaojin looked at Wang Shui suspiciously. "I also feel that it's a little strange. But your father is definitely doing this for our own good. All right, let's go down together and find your useless brother." Wang Shui shook her head and walked out of the room with Zhao Xiaojin. returning to the hall. Wang Shui looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Xiaojin, it's them. Who exactly are you guys? What's your relationship with my father? Zhao Xiaojin walked to the opposite side of Qin Feiyang and sized them up and asked suspiciously. Xiaojin, don't be rude. Wang Shui hurriedly reprimanded. Looking at their age, they are about the same as me. Do you want me to be respectful and polite to them? Zhao Xiaojin pouted. You, Wang Shui helplessly glared at Zhao Xiaojin. Then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I'm sorry, my daughter doesn't know how to be polite. It's okay, she's very straightforward. Quite like it. Madman grinned. Like it? Who wants you to like it? Don't talk nonsense. If others hear it, they will think that there is some unknown relationship between us. Zhao Xiaojin glared fiercely at Madman. Madman was stunned. Qin Feiyang, on the other hand, had a smile on his face. This little girl was quite interesting. Wang Shui shook her head helplessly and said, Xiaojin, don't mess around. Hurry up and contact your brother. No. Zhao Xiaojin shook her head and looked at Qin Feiyang and said, if you guys don't make it clear, I won't do anything. Up to you. Madman shrugged. Anyway, he wouldn't be the unlucky one. There was no hurry at all. You, Zhao Xiaojin glared at Madman. That? Miss Xiaojin, we were entrusted by your father, so don't make things difficult for us. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then what exactly is it? I have a feeling that it's not that simple. Zhao Xiaojin was suspicious. That's what it is. In short, if you don't do as we say, I'm afraid your family will be in danger, Qin Feiyang said. What danger? Zhao Xiaojin was shocked. The danger of losing your life. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't scare me, I'm not scared. Besides, my father guarded the border. Even if he didn't have any merits, he still worked hard. How can we be in danger? Zhao Xiaojin had a look of disbelief. I say, woman, why are you so long-winded? If I tell you to contact him, do you believe that I won't beat you up? Madman raised his eyebrows. Beat me up? Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. He looked at the madman in dissatisfaction and said, Come, come, come. I want to see if you have the ability. The corner of Madman's mouth twitched. What kind of woman is this? Can't she act like a woman? Qin Feiyang sized up Zhao Xiaojin with a trace of surprise in his eyes. He was wondering why Zhao Xiaojin was so confident. It turned out that she had a perfect undead stage cultivation base. This cultivation base was stronger than him and Madman. It was really amazing for a woman to be so strong. Why? You don't dare. Let me tell you, I'm a famous genius girl in the Alliance. Why would I be afraid of you? Zhao Xiaojin had a look of disdain. Madman's face darkened. She's still going strong? Genius girl. It was obvious that she had big breasts but no brain. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but glance at Zhao Xiaojin's chest. It was really quite big, like two majestic mountains trembling. What are you looking at? Zhao Xiaojin noticed the madman's strange gaze and immediately covered her chest, as she shouted angrily. Seeing this, Wang Shui's face also had a trace of displeasure towards Madman. Cough, cough. Madman coughed and looked at Wang Shui with an awkward expression. That? Auntie, we still have things to do. Hurry and contact Zhao Yang. Wang Shui sighed and looked at Zhao Xiaojin. Xiaojin, don't forget your father's previous instructions. Hurry and contact your brother. Humph. Zhao Xiaojin and the others snorted and took out the voice transmission god stone. We can't afford to offend this woman. Madman shook his head. Isn't that obvious? Qin Feiyang smiled secretly and then said to himself, however, while the elder brother is fooling around outside, the younger sister is cultivating hard at home. I guess this Zhao Yang can't even catch up with 1/10 of his younger sister. Then aren't we wasting time? Madman frowned. There's no other way. I've been entrusted with this matter. We can't just leave him alone. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Buzz. This time, a shadow appeared. It was Zhao Yang. At this moment, he was sitting in a restaurant eating and drinking with a few young men of the same age. There were even girls beside him, and he was having a good time. Fengchen Tower again? Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Damn girl, it's none of your business. Zhao Yang glared at Zhao Xiaojin and asked impatiently, What's the matter? Zhao Xiaojin said expressionlessly, Nonsense, why would I send a message to a scum like you? Haha, Xiaojin, how can a sister scold her brother like that? If others hear this, won't they laugh at your brother? The few young men beside her laughed happily as they looked at Zhao Xiaojin. You have the face to speak? You're all a bunch of scum. And you're still afraid of being hurt? Why don't you go and ask who doesn't know what kind of trash you are? Zhao Xiaojin was completely merciless. The few young men didn't take it seriously at all, as if they were already used to Zhao Xiaojin's attitude. Yes. We're all scum, genius girl, what do you want? Zhao Yang asked impatiently. Come back immediately. Zhao Xiaojin said. What? Zhao Yang frowned. Come back first. Zhao Xiaojin said. Boring. Zhao Yang glared at Zhao Xiaojin and directly turned off the sound transmission godstone. Bastard, you actually dare to turn off the sound transmission godstone. I must beat you to death today. Zhao Xiaojin immediately cursed. Cough cough. Xiaojin, watch your temper. There are still guests here. Wang Shui hurriedly comforted her, looking at Qin Feiyong and Zhao Yang with an extremely awkward gaze. Watch what? My temper is this bad. If you don't like it, don't look. Zhao Xiaojin glared at Qin Feiyong and Zhao Yang. Why are you glaring at us? Madman raised his eyebrows. She's indeed hot-tempered. Qin Feiyong secretly laughed. To put it nicely, she's hot-tempered, but to put it bluntly, she's a tigress. Madman pursed his lips. Wang Shui looked at Qin Feiyong and Zhao Yang and smiled apologetically. Sorry for making a fool of myself. It's fine. Qin Feiyong waved his hand. At this moment, Zhao Xiaojin kept the sound transmission godstone and walked outside. Xiaojin, where are you going? Wang Shui hurriedly asked. Mother, don't stop me, this time I have to beat him up no matter what. Lazy and idle, worse than a pig. It doesn't matter if he embarrasses himself, but don't embarrass father and you. After saying that, Zhao Xiaojin walked out without looking back. Sigh. Wang Shui sighed, her face full of helplessness. Madman turned to look at Qin Feiyong and asked, Then what should we do? Wait. Qin Feiyong shook his head. How troublesome. If he knew that Zhao Eryong's children were so troublesome, he wouldn't have bothered with this matter. Two little brothers, I'm really sorry. Wang Shui once again looked at Qin Feiyong and Zhao Yang apologetically. It's fine. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and said with a smile, I admire your daughter, she's straightforward and doesn't hypocritical, but your son is really a bit. At this point Qin Feiyong didn't continue because he believed that Wang Shui could understand it herself. Chapter 3109. Hearing this, Wang Shui bitterly smiled. With a son like this, it would be a lie to say that she didn't have a headache. I'll make some tea. Drink while we wait. Wang Shui stood up and smiled. Thank you, Auntie. Qin Feiyong smiled. No. Wang Shui waved her hand and quickly left. Fengchun Tower. Just from the name, one would know that it was a brothel located in the East City, and was sought after by the rich kids of the East City. Why did it have to be the rich kids of the East City? Because the Alliance City was too big. The hedonistic sons of rich families in the various districts basically sought pleasure in their own territory, and rarely went to other districts. Zhao Yang, get out here. Zhao Xiaojin stood at the entrance of the Fengchun Tower with her hands on her hips and fiercely stared inside. With this girl here, Zhao Yang is going to suffer again. He deserves it. Look at Xiaojin, not only is she beautiful, she's also so hardworking. She's already at the peak imperishable realm at such a young age. Look at Zhao Yang. As an older brother who knows how much older than Xiaojin, he's still only at the peak 9th heaven realm. If it wasn't for Zhao Eryong supporting him, the Zhao family would have been ruined by him. The people on the street immediately stopped and looked at Zhao Xiaojin with admiration, but when Zhao Yang was mentioned, the disgust and disdain on their faces were undisguised. It's Xiaojin. A brothel keeper ran out with a face full of smiles. Xiaojin, if you have something to say, why don't you and Zhao Yang go home and talk? Don't cause trouble here. After you caused trouble last time, I didn't have a single customer for half a month. This kind of place should have closed long ago. Zhao Xiaojin sneered. Look at what you're saying, we're just trying to make a living. The brothel keeper smiled and looked at the two workers hiding at the door. You two, hurry up and call Zhao Yang out. The two workers looked at Zhao Xiaojin with a face full of fear. They heard about it. They hurriedly ran to the second floor. Xiaojin, calm down, we have an important person here today, we can't cause trouble. The brothel keeper anxiously waited while comforting the hot-tempered Zhao Xiaojin. Important person? Zhao Xiaojin was stunned and said in disdain. What important person would come to your place? I'm not joking. The one who came this time is 10th Elder's grandson, Feng Wanyun. The brothel keeper whispered. Feng Wanyun? Zhao Xiaojin was slightly taken aback. He coldly harumphed. Who cares whose grandson he is, as long as I don't see Zhao Yang, I'll tear down your Fengshan Tower. Zhao Eryong was a high-level hegemon, and he had always been guarding the border. Thus, the majority of the people in the eastern part of the city treated Zhao Eryong with great respect. Because of this, they were also very polite to Zhao Eryong's family. This was Zhao Yang's capital as a playboy. As for Zhao Xiaojin, there was no need to mention her. Not only was her natural talent outstanding, she was also natural and unrestrained. Almost all the young men in East City regarded her as a goddess. However, how could a talented and beautiful girl like Zhao Xiaojin take a fancy to an ordinary person? Therefore, many of her pursuers were not only unable to win her heart, but were also beaten up badly by Zhao Xiaojin. Not long after, the two workers ran down and looked at the procuress. Young Master Zhao is not coming down. What? Not coming down? The brothel keeper immediately panicked. With Zhao Xiaojin's fiery temper, wouldn't she explode on the spot? As expected, Zhao Xiaojin pushed the procuress aside and angrily stormed into the Fengshan Tower, causing a commotion in the Fengshan Tower. Goddess Xiaojin, why are you here? If there's anything you need, just tell me and I'll do it for you. A young man with a pale face ran up to her, trying to curry favor. Scram! Zhao Xiaojin glared at him. The young man's neck shrunk back and he immediately ran to the side. My great aunt, please don't act recklessly, okay? The procuress chased after her, her face filled with worry. She looked towards a private room on the second floor and called out, Young Master Zhao Yang, I beg you, please come out. How troublesome. Zhao Yang's voice sounded from inside. Then the door opened and Zhao Yang walked out with a displeased expression, looking at Zhao Xiaojin. The young men who were drinking with Zhao Yang also ran out and laughed. Xiaojin Mimi, it's not appropriate for a girl to come here. Hurry up and go back, don't disturb us men having fun. What do you know besides eating and having fun? A bunch of good-for-nothings. Zhao Xiaojin glared at them, then looked at Zhao Yang and said, Scram immediately. Hey, are you the big brother? Or am I the big brother? How can you talk to your big brother like that? Do you believe that I'll teach you a lesson? Zhao Yang said with a dark expression. Teach me a lesson? Zhao Xiaojin was stunned, and a sinister smile appeared on her face. What are you trying to do? Looking at the smile on Zhao Xiaojin's face, Zhao Yang could not help but feel his scalp go numb. That smile was too familiar. Every time it appeared, he would definitely suffer. What are you trying to do? Zhao Xiaojin landed in front of Zhao Yang. Zhao Yang turned around and fled. Zhao Xiaojin kicked him, and Zhao Yang immediately fell to the ground like a dog eating feces. He was in an extremely sorry state. Xiaojin Mimi, there are so many people watching. Save some face for your brother. A few young men muttered softly. Are you guys itching for a beating too? Zhao Xiaojin glared at them. All right. Just pretend that we didn't say anything. As long as you're happy. Seeing that the situation was bad, the young men hurriedly retreated. It was best to protect themselves. You're not loyal. Zhao Yang got up, glared at them and fled. Zhao Xiaojin chased after him and grabbed Zhao Yang's ear. Zhao Yang was only at the peak 9th heaven realm, and Zhao Xiaojin was at the peak undead realm. In front of Zhao Xiaojin, how could he fight back? Ouch, ouch, ouch. Zhao Yang immediately wailed. You can still feel pain? The face of my Zhao family has been lost because of you. Zhao Xiaojin shouted angrily. He picked up Zhao Yang and threw him down the stairs like trash, smashing a table below. Oh my God, can't you go out first? The brothel keeper looked at the messy hall and felt heartache. A table was a small matter, but if this continued, the Fengshan Tower would definitely be torn down. At that time the losses would be great. Zhao Xiaojin did not say anything and landed in front of Zhao Yang. An elder brother is like a father. You're being disrespectful, be careful of being struck by lightning. Zhao Yang shouted as he retreated. You dare curse me to be struck by lightning? Zhao Xiaojin's face darkened, and she kicked him again. I've heard that Zhao Xiaojin is a bad-tempered woman. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation. But at this moment, a faint laugh sounded. Zhao Xiaojin raised her head and saw a purple-clothed youth standing on the third floor. Beside him was a white-clothed youth. Both of them were about 1.8 meters tall. Their figures were tall and straight, and their auras were extraordinary. Young Master Feng, young Master Zhang, you must help me. Otherwise, with this girl's temper, she will definitely tear down my Fengshan Tower. The brothel keeper looked at the two of them as if she had seen her savior. Feng Wanyun, Zhang Sanbao. Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Xiaojin, I haven't seen you for a while, and your temper has risen again. This is not good, be careful that you won't be able to get married. The white-clothed Zhang Sanbao laughed. Whether I can get married or not is my own business. Zhao Xiaojin snorted. Zhang Sanbao said, don't say that. If you really can't get married, I'll marry you. Scram. Why don't you go look in the mirror? Zhao Xiaojin's face darkened. Zhang Sanbao was not angry, as if he was already used to Zhao Xiaojin's temper. However, the purple-clothed youth was unhappy. He glanced at Zhang Sanbao and said, how can a woman be so arrogant? Brother Feng, Xiaojin's temper is like this. Everyone in the East City knows that she is very kind. Please don't take offense. Zhang Sanbao laughed. Not just the East City, who doesn't know the genius Zhao Xiaojin? The purple-clothed youth lowered his head and looked at Zhao Xiaojin, saying, do you know who I am? The famous Grand Elder's grandson. Who doesn't know Feng Wanyun? You're all jackals of the same tribe, hedonistic scum. Zhao Xiaojin's face was full of disdain. Feng Wanyun raised his eyebrows and said angrily, you have to make yourself clear, how am I scum? As the grandson of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's 10th elder, who didn't treat him with respect. This was the first time someone dared to be so impudent in front of him. People who come to this place, if they're not scum, then what are they? With that, Zhao Xiaojin kicked Zhao Yang again and shouted, go back. Zhao Yang stood up pitifully and walked out. Stop right there. Feng Wanyun frowned and landed in front of the door. He looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said, this is the first time someone dares to call me scum in public. Brother Feng, this is just a joke, don't be angry. Zhang Sanbao saw that the situation was not good, and hurriedly landed in front of Feng Wanyun and comforted him. Do you think this is a joke? Feng Wanyun glared. Zhang Sanbao's expression froze, and he looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said, Xiaojin, hurry up and apologize to Brother Feng. Him. Zhao Xiaojin's face was full of disdain. Look, what kind of attitude is this? Feng Wanyun was furious. She's just like that, please don't take offense. Zhang Sanbao smiled apologetically. Yes. Young Master Feng, Xiaojin's mouth is famous in the East City. Don't bother with her. Actually, she's not a bad person. Besides, we're all from the Alliance capital. Don't make things difficult for her. The few young men who were drinking with Zhao Yang also hurriedly went up to apologize for Zhao Xiaojin. Feng Wanyun looked at Zhang Sanbao, then at the few young men, and looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said, all right, I'll let you off for everyone's sake, but it's best if there's no next time. However, Zhao Xiaojin did not want to pay attention to him at all, and dragged Zhao Yang out. Look, she didn't even say thank you. Feng Wanyun was furious. All right. It's bad for your body to be angry. I'll accompany you for a few drinks. Zhang Sanbao smiled apologetically as he dragged Feng Wanyun upstairs. I won't let her off. Feng Wanyun snorted coldly. The few young men looked at each other, turned around and chased after Zhao Xiaojin. What are you guys doing? Zhao Xiaojin turned to look at them, her brows furrowed. Xiaojin, I say you're too impulsive. Why did you go against Feng Wanyun? We've all heard of this person's personality. He's arrogant and can't tolerate the slightest bit of sand in his eyes. He just said that he won't let you off. So be careful of his revenge. The few young men sighed, looking a little worried. Why would I be afraid of his revenge? Zhao Xiaojin was disdainful. He's definitely not afraid of revenge. But what about his grandfather? It's not like you don't know his grandfather's status in the Alliance capital. With just a word from his grandfather, your family won't have a good life in the future. The few young men said. Hearing this, Zhao Xiaojin's beautiful brows immediately furrowed, and she said, Got it, I'll be careful. All right then. The few young men nodded, looked at Zhao Yang, and said with a smile, Brother Zhao, let's meet again another day. Okay. Zhao Yang nodded. Meet again? I say, can't the few of you work harder? Look at what you've become now. Zhao Xiaojin glared fiercely, as if she expected better from them. The few young men chuckled and ran away. Chapter 31:10. In the attic. Qin Feiyang and Madman drank tea while chatting with Wang Shui. Finally, Zhao Xiaojin brought Zhao Yang back. Wang Shui stood up and looked at the embarrassed Zhao Yang. She couldn't help but be angry and said, You only came back when your sister went to find you. Mother, why are you still fierce to me? She is the one who should be fierce. A girl is so unruly. How can she marry in the future? How can she take care of her husband and children? Zhao Yang pouted. You're still talking? Zhao Xiaojin stared. Zhao Yang shrunk his neck and hid behind Wang Shui. All right, don't you see that there are guests here? Wang Shui looked helpless. Guests? Zhao Yang was slightly stunned. Only then did he notice Qin Feiyang and Madman sitting at the side. He looked at the two of them suspiciously and asked, You are? We are your father's friends. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Liars, definitely liars. Zhao Yang immediately pointed at Qin Feiyang and Madman and looked at Wang Shui and Zhao Xiaojin. What the hell? Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. My father is a great mastery dominator, and the two of you are at most imperishable realm. How can you be my father's friends? So you are definitely liars. Tell me honestly, what are you trying to do? Zhao Yang shouted. Qin Feiyang and Madman were speechless to the extreme. Zhao Xiaojin's face also darkened and kicked him on the spot. Why are you kicking me again? Zhao Yang said angrily. Zhao Xiaojin said with a dark face, We have already sent a message to father to confirm that they are not liars. They are not. Zhao Yang was stunned and then smiled awkwardly. Looking at Qin Feiyang and Madman, he waved his hand and said, Sorry, it's instinctive. Madman looked at Zhao Yang and transmitted his voice. Although this person is a playboy, he is quite fun. Qin Feiyang smiled. He stood up and looked at the three of them. He said, Then let's get straight to the point. Right now I'm going to send you to a place. However, after you enter, don't ask anything. Just stay obediently. What do you mean? Zhao Yang looked at Qin Feiyang confusedly. Wang Shui and Zhao Xiaojin were also suspicious. Didn't I just tell you not to ask anything? With that said, Qin Feiyang prepared to send the three of them to the Black Tortoise world. Old Qin, why don't we leave one of them outside? We're not familiar with this place. If you stay outside, you can lead the way for us and tell us about the situation in the Alliance capital. Madman suddenly transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. After pondering for a while, he said inwardly, That makes sense. Then tell me, who should stay outside? Madman looked at Zhao Xiaojin and Zhao Yang. What are you looking at? Zhao Yang murmured, Why is it getting weirder and weirder? In the end, Madman locked his eyes on Zhao Yang and transmitted his voice. Women are too troublesome. Let's go with him. But why do I feel that he might be even more troublesome? Qin Feiyang mumbled. Wang. Suddenly, the divine voice transmitting stone was activated. Everyone regained their senses and looked at Wang Shui. Wang Shui took out the divine voice transmitting stone and a figure appeared. It was Zhao Eryong. Father. Sister, she bullied me again. Zhao Yang immediately complained to Zhao Eryong. Father, don't listen to his nonsense. He was the one who went to Fengchun Lu to fool around first. Zhao Xiaojin said. Shut up. Zhao Eryong coldly shouted and asked, Did you offend someone? What? The brother and sister were stunned. Just now, the 10th elder sent me a message, telling me to immediately return to the Alliance capital to hand in the token and retire at home. Zhao Eryong said in a deep voice, Hand in the token? Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and hurriedly asked, Is it the token to enter and exit the barrier? Yes. Zhao Eryong nodded. What's going on? Why did the 10th elder suddenly want you to hand in the token and retire at home? Qin Feiyang frowned. This token was extremely important. If Zhao Eryong really handed it over, then he wouldn't be able to leave the barrier in the future. At the same time, Wang Shui and the brother and sister were also stunned. Zhao Eryong looked at Zhao Yang and Zhao Xiaojin and said, I'm asking you a question, hurry up and answer. Father, this has nothing to do with me. It's sister, she offended the 10th elder's grandson, Feng Wanyun. Zhao Yang quivered and immediately pointed at Zhao Xiaojin and said to Zhao Eryong, so it's like that. I knew it. He wouldn't want me to hand in the token for no reason and retire at home. Zhao Eryong pondered and looked at Zhao Xiaojin and asked Xiaojin, how did you offend Feng Wanyun? This? Zhao Xiaojin also had a trace of anger between her brows. She didn't expect him to take revenge on her so quickly. As expected, he was scum. Since he didn't have the ability to take revenge, he had the people behind him do it. Speak. Wang Shui also anxiously looked at Zhao Xiaojin. Offending the 10th elder's grandson is not a small matter. It's like this. Zhao Xiaojin briefly recounted what had happened in the Fengshan Tower. Why are you so muddle-headed? Feng Wanyun is the 10th elder's grandson. No matter how much of a spoiled brat he is, it's not up to you to criticize him. That's enough, the 10th elder is starting to take revenge. Zhao Eryong was furious. But I'm speaking the truth. He's a spoiled brat, a scum. Zhao Xiaojin coldly snorted. You're being unreasonable. Zhao Eryong fiercely glared at her. Enough, it's not your daughter's fault. It's that Feng Wanyun's fault. He's too narrow-minded to take revenge on you over such a small matter. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's right, he's simply a despicable person. Zhao Yang nodded. You're still talking? If you were willing to obediently come back, would I have gone to Feng Chanlu? If I didn't go to Feng Chanlu, would I have offended Feng Wanyun? In the end, the main culprit is you. Zhao Xiaojin angrily said. Zhao Yang smiled embarrassedly. Enough, you guys can leave first. I have some private matters to discuss with these two little brothers. Zhao Eryong looked at Wang Shui and the siblings and said, you still have something to hide from us? The siblings looked at Zhao Eryong suspiciously. Go out, don't make your father angry again. Wang Shui drove the two of them away. After the three of them left, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and closed the door. Then he set up a soundproof barrier. Zhao Eryong looked at the two of them and said, if it wasn't for you guys, I would be quite happy to go back and retire. I finally have time to accompany my family. But now, speaking of this, Zhao Eryong frowned. I know, this token can't be handed over no matter what. Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhao Eryong said, the 10th elder has already personally spoken. How can I not hand it over? Don't be anxious. Let me think about this first. After saying that, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered to himself. I thought it would go smoothly, but I didn't expect such a thing to happen. Eryong, I really want to beat your son up. Madman looked at Zhao Eryong and said angrily, I also want to beat him up, but he's my flesh and blood after all. I'll teach him slowly in the future. Naturally, it's also my fault. I've been busy all these years and didn't have time to discipline him. Zhao Eryong shook his head. At this moment, Qin Feiyang looked up at Zhao Eryong and said with a smile, the one who tied the bell should untie it. For this matter, we have to start with this Feng Wanyun. When Zhao Eryong heard this, he was shocked. Don't tell me you want to kidnap him to threaten the 10th elder. How is that possible? If we kidnap him, won't our whereabouts be exposed? This matter can only be solved with wisdom. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then hurry up and deal with it because I can't delay it for long. Zhao Eryong urged. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhao Eryong turned off the voice transmission stone. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The barrier dissipated, the door opened, and the voice transmission stone was returned to Zhao Xiaojin. What did you guys talk about with father? Zhao Yang looked at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin doubtfully. A way to solve the problem. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. How to solve it? Zhao Xiaojin asked. Whoever is playing tricks, of course we have to find that person to solve it. Qin Feiyang smiled. Feng Wanyun. Zhao Xiaojin enunciated each word clearly, then angrily ran out. Xiaojin, don't mess around. Wang Shui's expression changed and quickly chased after Zhao Xiaojin. Auntie, don't worry, we will handle this matter well. You just have to wait for the news at home with peace of mind. Qin Feiyang stopped Wang Shui and said with a smile. But Wang Shui frowned. Don't worry, we will know what to do. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Looking at the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, Wang Shui inexplicably felt more at ease. Qin Feiyang looked at Madman and said with a smile, "Let's go, we will also go take a look." "Sure, let's go take a look at the grandson of the 10th elder and see what kind of character he is." Madman smiled cruelly. "I will go too." Zhao Yang roared with a look of wanting to see the world in chaos. "That's for sure. Your sister runs so fast, we still need you to lead the way. Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled. "See, I am still useful." Zhao Yang smiled proudly. "Still proud? That's the only use you have." Wang Shui rolled her eyes. Zhao Yang's expression froze and he said angrily, "Mother, how can you hit your son like that?" All right, go quickly. Look after your sister with her temper, don't cause any trouble." Wang Shui waved her hand. "Understood." Zhao Yang nodded and led Qin Feiyang out of the courtyard, heading towards Fengchun Tower. Fengchun Tower. After a round of cleaning, it was bustling again. On the 3rd floor, in a private room, Zhang Sanbao put down his wine cup and looked at Feng Wanyun opposite him, asking, "Brother Feng, isn't this a bit too much?" "Too much? This kind of woman needs to be taught a lesson." Feng Wanyun sneered. "It's fine to let her suffer a little, but there's no need to target her father. After all, Zhao Er has been guarding the border for so many years. Even if he doesn't have any merits, he should at least have worked hard. This is unfair to him." Zhang Sanbao frowned. He had been secretly in love with Zhao Xiaojin for a long time, but Zhao Xiaojin didn't have such feelings for him and only treated him as a friend. But he didn't give up and persisted. So before, he had been helping to smooth things over and speak up for Zhao Xiaojin's family. But this Feng Wanyun was a proud and arrogant person who cared about his face and refused to let Zhao Xiaojin go. Regarding this, he didn't dare to stop him. After all, Feng Wanyun's family background was there. If he angered Feng Wanyun, not to mention Zhao Xiaojin's family, even he and his family would be implicated. Chapter 31:11. Fair. Feng Wanyun sneered, and while drinking from his wine cup, he said, "Brother Zhang, to think that I treated you as a brother. You are actually so childish." Hearing this, Zhang Sanbao's brows furrowed even tighter. Think about it, is there any fairness in this world? If I didn't have a good background, do you think they would be so afraid of me and respect me? If I didn't have a good background, would we be sitting here drinking and chatting right now? If that's the case, I'm afraid that even you would look down on me." Feng Wanyun sneered. No, Zhang Sanbao hurriedly waved his hands. "Don't be in such a hurry to deny it. You are the same. If you didn't have a powerful father, I wouldn't be sitting here drinking with you. This is reality. The strong are valued and respected, while the weak can only wag their tails and beg for pity. So don't be so naive to talk about fairness in the future. There is no fairness in this world." Feng Wanyun laughed mockingly. Yes. What else could Zhang Sanbao say? He could only agree. It seemed that this matter was a bit difficult to handle, because it was obvious that Feng Wanyun was determined to make things difficult for Zhao Xiaojin's family, and with his status, he was unable to interfere. But he couldn't figure it out. How could there be such a petty person in this world? Was it necessary to make such a big fuss over such a small matter? After all, he was the grandson of the 10th elder. Couldn't he be a little more magnanimous? "Feng Wanyun, get out here." Suddenly, an explosive shout sounded from outside. Zhang Sanbao immediately trembled, and the wine in his cup spilled out. What was this grandaunt doing here again? Wasn't the matter big enough? At the same time, Feng Wanyun raised his eyebrows. Zhang Sanbao's eyelids twitched slightly, and hurriedly laughed. "Brother Feng, calm down, I will go out and chase her away." "Wait," Feng Wanyun said. Zhang Sanbao looked at him suspiciously. Feng Wanyun raised his head and drank the wine in his cup, then suddenly stood up and said, "Originally, I just wanted to teach her a lesson so that she would restrain herself a little in the future, but I didn't expect that she would take an inch and take a mile. Since that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless." After saying that, he turned around and walked to the door, kicking it open with one foot. "What should we do?" Zhang Sanbao followed Feng Wanyun anxiously. The two of them walked to the room and stood in front of the railing. They looked down at the hall and saw Zhao Xiaojin standing in the middle of the hall angrily with her hands on her hips. She looked like an angry tigress. The brothel keeper, the girls in the restaurant, and the customers all retreated far away, afraid that they would be implicated. The current Zhao Xiaojin was clearly different from before. When he came to Zhaoyang before, he was just angry, but now he was furious. Everyone understood Zhao Xiaojin. At this time, Zhao Xiaojin absolutely could not be provoked. Zhao Xiaojin, what are you doing now? Hurry up and go back. Zhang Sanbao shouted. Zhao Xiaojin turned a deaf ear to him. He looked at Feng Wanyun and said, I'll take responsibility for my own actions. If you have any means of revenge, come at me. Don't do anything immoral. Revenge? What's the situation? Everyone looked at each other. It wasn't a big deal before, so why was he taking revenge? You guys still don't know. Just a while ago, this 10th elder's grandson, young Master Feng Wanyun, asked his grandfather to make things difficult for my father. Zhao Xiaojin scanned the crowd around him and sneered. What? Just such a small matter and he alarmed the 10th elder. Everyone looked at Feng Wanyun in shock. Isn't this a little too petty? They were all young people, so it was inevitable that there would be some friction. They could just settle it themselves, so why did they have to alarm the 10th elder? He even went to make things difficult for someone else's father. Wasn't that bullying? You all have seen it now, right? This is our 10th elder's grandson. With his actions, he is fully deserving of being called a grandson. Zhao Xiaojin sneered. These words were already quite rude. He directly called Feng Wanyun a grandson and did not give him any face at all. Zhang Sanbao's expression changed slightly when he heard that. He hurriedly looked at Feng Wanyun. His face was indeed extremely gloomy. He immediately looked at Zhao Xiaojin and shouted, Zhao Xiaojin, are you done fooling around? Get lost. Humph. Zhao Xiaojin snorted coldly and turned to leave. Stop. Feng Wanyun spoke, his voice filled with a bone-piercing chill. Zhao Xiaojin stopped and turned to look at Feng Wanyun. He sneered and said, What? Did I touch your sore spot? You're still talking about it? Zhang Sanbao shouted angrily. I'm still talking about it. Zhao Xiaojin also had a stubborn temper. He looked at Feng Wanyun and said, Other than relying on your grandfather to abuse your power, what else can you do? You're just a pile of dog shit. Other than disgusting people, you have no other use. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched. This girl really dared to scold him. Outside the restaurant, Qin Feiyong and Madman had also rushed over. When they heard these words, a wry smile appeared on their faces. It seemed that Zhao Xiaojin was already very restrained in front of them. Zhao Yang, this sister of yours is a bit valiant. Madman glanced at Zhao Yang beside him, only to see that Zhao Yang also had a wry smile on his face. He sighed and said, We're still a step too late. Now that we've completely offended Feng Wanyun, how can our family survive in the alliance in the future? You still know how to worry? I thought that you only know how to eat, drink, and play without a care in the world. Madman looked at Zhao Yang in surprise. What's the point of life if you don't eat, drink, and play? Besides, who told you that eating, drinking, and playing without a care in the world? What kind of logic is that? Zhao Yang rolled his eyes at Madman and looked inside the restaurant. His face was full of worry. In the restaurant, Zhao Xiaojin was overbearing. Feng Wanyun's face was as dark as water. The brothel keeper, the girls in the restaurant, and the guests didn't even dare to breathe loudly. As for Zhang Sanbao, he was also exhausted. How could he help? There was no way to help at all. Not talking. That's true. What I said is the truth. You can't find a reason to refute it. Go back early. The road outside is not easy to walk on. If you accidentally fall and hurt your precious body, our East City can't afford to bear the consequences of the 10th elder's anger. Zhao Xiaojin sneered and turned to walk outside again. The people blocking the door all retreated to the side and secretly gave Zhao Xiaojin a thumbs up. On one hand, they were all familiar with Zhao Xiaojin and understood him. Although his temper was a bit wild, he was kind-hearted and treated his neighbors well. On the other hand, because of such a small matter, Feng Wanyun alarmed the 10th elder and made things difficult for Zhao Xiaojin's father. So, they all supported Zhao Xiaojin from the bottom of their hearts. Did I let you go? Feng Wanyun said sinisterly as he stared at Zhao Xiaojin's back. Zhao Xiaojin turned to look at Feng Huanyun and said, I still need your permission to leave. Do you really think of yourself as someone important? My great aunt, can you take it as me begging you? Don't provoke him again. Zhang Sanbao sent a sound transmission with a worried expression. This has nothing to do with you. And it's not that I'm being overbearing. He's going too far. Zhao Xiaojin thought. I know, but Zhang Sanbao furrowed his brows. But before he could finish speaking, an exceptionally loud voice rang out. Since young Master Feng is not convinced, then fight one-on-one with Zhao Xiaojin. Whoever's fist is harder will have the final say. The one who spoke was Madman. Everyone looked at Madman in unison. Why were there so many reckless people today? Since young Master Feng was not convinced, then fight one-on-one with Zhao Xiaojin? These words were obviously humiliating Feng Huanyun again. Zhao Yang also did not expect Madman to suddenly say such a thing, and hurriedly shouted in secret, Why are you joining in the fun? Don't you think it's chaotic enough? What do you know? Madman rolled his eyes at him and walked into the restaurant. He looked at Feng Huanyun and Zhao Xiaojin and smiled. The two of you, what do you think of my suggestion? I'm very willing, but I'm afraid someone doesn't have the guts. Zhao Xiaojin sneered. Madman's gaze turned and landed on Feng Huanyun, and said with a smile, Young Master Feng, since we've already said so much, as a man you can't back down. He could tell at a glance that Feng Huanyun's aura was at the Great Achievement Undead stage. Zhao Xiaojin was at the Great Achievement Undead stage, a small difference. Therefore, under normal circumstances, Feng Huanyun would definitely not dare to fight with Zhao Xiaojin. But now, with Madman's provocation, he had to fight even if he didn't want to. Because if he didn't fight, it would be equivalent to showing weakness, and he would definitely become the joke of the Alliance capital in the future. At that time, everyone would point at him behind his back. Look at this grandson of the 10th elder. He didn't even dare to accept a woman's challenge. What a coward. Brother Feng, it's bad for your body to be angry. Why bother with a woman? Zhang Sanbao looked at the gloomy Feng Huanyun and advised with a smile. He was actually giving Feng Huanyun a way out. If Feng Huanyun knew what was good for him, he would nod on the spot and agree with Zhang Sanbao, not arguing with a woman. This way, not only would he be able to get away with it logically, but it would also show his magnanimity. But Feng Huanyun didn't do that. To be more precise, the anger in his heart was about to make him lose his mind. Under the eyes of everyone, she actually provoked him again and again. As the grandson of the 10th elder, his pride would definitely not allow it. All right. Let's go outside the city and fight one-on-one. Feng Huanyun nodded word by word, a sharp light flashing in his eyes. Straightforward. Madman clapped his hands, turned his head to look at the people around, and said with a smile, Then let's all go and watch the show together. Go, go, go. At that moment, many busybodies rushed towards the city gate. Zhao Xiaojin glanced at Madman, and also followed him outside. Tigress, before the battle starts, remember to talk to him about your father. Madman transmitted his voice. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned, and only then did she understand that Madman did this to help create an opportunity for negotiation. Wait. Tigress. Bastard, you actually dare to call me a tigress? Wait. After this lady finishes dealing with Feng Huanyun, I will slowly deal with you. Zhao Xiaojin fiercely glared at Madman, and then left without looking back. It's not certain who will deal with who. Madman laughed secretly. Chapter 31:12. But at this moment Madman felt a cold gaze sweeping over him. Madman was slightly taken aback. He turned around and saw Feng Huanyun walking over while staring at him coldly. Obviously, Madman's actions had angered Feng Huanyun. But not only did Madman not care, he even smiled and encouraged, Young Master Feng, good luck. Humph. Feng Huanyun snorted and walked past Madman. Zhang Sanbao also walked over and frowned at Madman. Are you Little Jin's friend? You are. Madman looked at him suspiciously. Zhang Sanbao didn't answer and said angrily, If you are really Little Jin's friend, you shouldn't mess around with Little Jin. With that, he looked at Zhao Yang and sighed. He didn't stay any longer and quickly chased after Feng Huanyun. Is this person crazy? Madman looked at Zhang Sanbao's back in a daze. Zhao Yang said, He's not crazy. He's just concerned about my sister. Concerned? Madman was stunned. Yes. He has been secretly in love with my sister for a long time, but my sister has no feelings for him. Zhao Yang pursed his lips. I see. Madman nodded in realization. Let's go. Let's go out and take a look. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. The three of them followed behind the crowd and walked out of the city. Madman looked at Zhang Sanbao's back and asked suspiciously, Zhao Yang, why do you look like you don't like him? Why would I like a person who has his eyes on the top of his head? Besides, I'm not worthy of him. Zhao Yang snorted coldly. Not worthy of him? Madman was stunned and asked suspiciously, what do you mean? Zhao Yang pursed his lips and said, his name is Zhang Sanbao, the eldest son of our East City Lord. At such a young age, he has reached the immortal perfection stage and has comprehended a kind of law. Law? Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. They looked up at Zhang Sanbao's back and really didn't recognize it. I don't like him because of his attitude. Since he likes my sister, shouldn't he be more polite to me? But every time he sees me, it's like he sees a fly and wants to slap me to the clouds. Although I'm useless, I'm not to the extent of being cold. Zhao had a look of disdain. You have some backbone. Madman looked at Zhao Yang in surprise and mocked. You can't blame him. You are too much of a playboy. If it was me, I would stay away too. What do you mean? Have I ever done anything to bully others? Have you done anything that offends the heavens and reason? At most it's just eating, drinking, and playing. Is that wrong? As the saying goes, everyone has their own ambitions. I like to eat, drink, and play, but that doesn't mean I'm a hedonistic son. Zhao Yang was dissatisfied. Madman. Madman. The madman looked at him in a daze. After hearing these words, this person didn't seem to be the spoiled brat he had imagined. Of course. As a young talent in the East City, what kind of young talent haven't I seen? Zhao Yang smiled proudly. Madman and Qin Feiyang were stunned. Young talent? Don't insult the word disgrace, okay? However, from these words, it could be seen that Zhao Yang was indeed a distance away from being a young talent. At most, he could be considered an idler. City Gate. As a large number of people poured out of the city gate, the people outside the city were also shocked. Brother, what happened? A black-clothed man stopped a young man and asked. Zhao Xiaojin and Feng Wanyun are going to have a one-on-one duel. Most of us are just here to watch the show. The young man said with a face full of expectation. Zhao Xiaojin? Feng Wanyun. Two people who can't be found at all. Why are they going to have a one-on-one duel? As soon as the young man said that, everyone started to ask. It's like this. The young man briefly explained the situation to Qin Nan. So it's like this. Then this Feng Wanyun is really too much. The grandson of the dignified 10th elder only has this little tolerance. Isn't he afraid of being laughed at? I support Xiaojin. She is our East City's genius girl. We definitely can't watch her be bullied like this. That's right, I also support her. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. Most of the people who entered and exited from the East City Gate were from the East City, so they were very familiar with Zhao Xiaojin. Soon, Zhao Xiaojin and Feng Wanyun also walked out one after another. In front of the city gate there was a vast glacier. Zhao Xiaojin directly took a step out and stood above the glacier. She was dressed in a tight black outfit that accentuated her petite and exquisite figure. Her soft long hair was tied behind her back, making her look extremely capable and experienced. Zhang Sanbao looked at Zhao Xiaojin, and the admiration in his eyes became even stronger. Then, he looked at Feng Wanyun and whispered, Brother Feng, why don't we forget about it? At this point if I still retreat then I'm not a man. Feng Wanyun snorted coldly, and landed in front of Zhao Xiaojin. Qin Feiyang and Madman also walked out from the city gate, and raised their heads to look at the two of them silently. Boom! Zhao Xiaojin's delicate body shook, and a terrifying aura instantly roared out. Perfection undead stage. Feng Wanyun sized up Zhao Xiaojin, and a lecherous smile suddenly flashed across his gloomy face, and said, It's too boring to fight like this, why don't we make a bet? A bet? Zhao Xiaojin was slightly stunned. Wasn't this exactly what she wanted? She said expressionlessly, What bet do you think? If you lose to me, you will be my woman and listen to me in the future. Feng Wanyun said. Fuck. So that's what he's planning. Zhao Yang cursed in his heart. At the same time, Zhang Sanbao's expression froze when he heard this. He should have thought that with Feng Wanyun's personality, this matter was not so simple. Perhaps from the beginning, he had already taken a fancy to Zhao Xiaojin, so he targeted Zhao Eryong. In other words, all of this might be Feng Wanyun's plan. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned, and she sized up Feng Wanyun with a strange expression and asked, "You don't have a fever, right? I'm just asking if you dare?" Feng Wanyun spoke in an overbearing manner. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Zhao Xiaojin smiled coldly and asked, "But what if I win? If you really win, then you can name any conditions." Feng Wanyun said, "All right. If I win, then ask your grandfather to withdraw the order, and you have to kneel down and apologize to me in public." Zhao Xiaojin spoke word by word, and her words were sharp, and she didn't give him any leeway at all. "Kneel down in public?" Feng Wanyun raised his brows. "That's right." Zhao Xiaojin nodded and sneered, "If you don't dare, then pretend I didn't say anything." "How arrogant. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Feng Wanyun laughed from extreme anger. "Then it's a deal, bring it on." Zhao Xiaojin smiled coldly, and her face was filled with provocation. Bang! Feng Wanyun took a step forward, and his aura surged as he threw a punch at Zhao Xiaojin. Zhao Xiaojin smiled contemptuously, raised her slender arm, and pointed at Feng Wanyun's fist. That was right. Just one finger. The two collided with a loud bang. Zhao Xiaojin only used the strength of one finger to send Feng Wanyun flying, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. A great achievement. Inextinguishable Realm Cultivator is actually competing with a perfected Inextinguishable Realm Cultivator in terms of strength. Isn't he looking for trouble? The crowd below looked at Feng Wanyun and could not help but shake their heads. It seemed that the grandson of the chief elder was a fool, because only a fool would do such a thing. Whoosh! Zhao Xiaojin sent Feng Wanyun flying with one finger, and then took the initiative to attack. Her attacks were like a storm, so fast that it was too much for the eyes to take in. Obviously, she had to end this boring battle as soon as possible. Bang! Bang! After a while, Feng Wanyun's nose was bruised and his eyes were swollen. He was in a sorry state, and like a meteorite, he smashed into the glacier below. He can't even withstand a single blow. The 10th elder is so powerful, but I didn't expect him to have such a useless grandson. His reputation will be ruined in the future. Everyone shook their heads. Zhao Xiaojin retracted her aura, looked at the shattered glacier below, and said indifferently, "It's over, please keep your promise." After saying that, she flew towards the city gate. Over. Suddenly, a burst of laughter sounded from below the shattered glacier. Zhao Xiaojin was startled. She stopped and looked down. "Zhao Xiaojin, you still treat this young master as trash. Do you think you can win just like that? Isn't that too ridiculous?" Accompanied by a loud explosion, the glacier within a radius of tens of thousands of miles directly collapsed. Feng Wanyun rushed out from inside, his entire body filled with hostility. "Still not giving up?" Zhao Xiaojin raised her eyebrows and coldly snorted. "Then I'll send you down again." She took a step forward and instantly landed in front of Feng Wanyun. Her divine power surged as she slapped out with all her might. Feng Wanyun suddenly raised his head and stared at Zhao Xiaojin. His big hand shot out like lightning and grabbed Zhao Xiaojin's wrist. "What?" Zhao Xiaojin was shocked. She was actually unable to break free from Feng Wanyun's grasp. And Feng Wanyun's strength seemed to have increased by several times, and was not weaker than her in the slightest. Feng Wanyun's face revealed a lewd smile and said, "I really like you more and more. I can't wait to press you down on the bed right now, scram." Zhao Xiaojin flew into a rage out of humiliation, and directly kicked towards Feng Wanyun's groin. Damn! When Madman saw this scene, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. What a valiant woman! However, Feng Wanyun seemed to have already expected this. He raised his other arm and grabbed Zhao Xiaojin's ankle again. He laughed. "These legs are so beautiful." As he spoke, he even used his fingers to draw. After being taken advantage of again and again, Zhao Xiaojin was truly angered. Her divine power roared out, and like a huge dragon, it rushed towards Feng Wanyun. Feng Wanyun laughed sinisterly and retreated explosively. With a wave of his hand, A surge of divine power appeared. Boom! The two divine powers collided with a loud bang. The wind whistled and the void distorted. The two of them retreated a few steps at the same time, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Zhao Xiaojin's mouth. What? Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. The perfect immortal Zhao Xiaojin was actually tied with the phenomenal immortal Feng Huanyun? What's going on? Zhao Yang also looked at Qin Feiyang and Qin Feiyang in astonishment. Can't you see? Feng Huanyun's cultivation is not phenomenal immortal. Madman shook his head. Not phenomenal immortal? Then could it be? Zhao Yang was shocked and immediately looked at Feng Huanyun, his eyes filled with shock. This person was actually hiding his strength. Chapter 31:13. Boom! In the next moment, Feng Huanyun, who was high up in the sky, emitted a monstrous aura. What was this aura if not the immortal perfection stage? He actually hit his cultivation? Everyone looked at Feng Huanyun in shock, including Zhang Sanbao. He was quite familiar with Feng Huanyun, but even he did not know Feng Huanyun's true cultivation. Zhang Sanbao, to think that you said that you like my sister. You actually didn't tell us such an important thing. Zhao Yang came back to his senses and immediately glared at Zhang Sanbao, who was not far away. I don't know either. Zhang Sanbao frowned. Everyone calls him brother, how can you not know? Zhao Yang did not believe it. Forget it if you don't believe me. I'm not in the mood to explain it to you. Zhang Sanbao glanced at Zhao Yang, then looked up at Zhao Xiaojin, the worry on his face growing. Previously, although he was worried about offending Feng Huanyun, at least Zhao Xiaojin would not be in danger. But now, their cultivation was the same. Feng Huanyun was also the grandson of the 10th elder, so he must have some trump cards hidden. Zhao Xiaojin would most likely lose this battle. If she really lost to Feng Huanyun, then she would have to become his woman. At the thought of this, Zhang Sanbao could not help but go crazy. In the sky, Feng Huanyun's face was full of pride, and he said with a smile, "Are you used to everyone calling you a genius girl, so you really think you're a genius?" Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Feng Huanyun had indeed caught her off guard by hiding his strength. However, it was not to the point of lowering her head and admitting defeat. Chirp! She waved her hand, accompanied by a phoenix cry. A huge fire phoenix soared into the sky with mighty divine power. Paragon-level divine art? Feng Huanyun's face was full of contempt, and with a wave of his hand, a black python roared out, revealing its ferocious fangs, and charged towards the fire phoenix. With a wail, the fire phoenix collapsed on the spot. That black python was like a demon pouncing towards Zhao Xiaojin. This is, Xiaojin, be careful. This is his heaven-defying divine art. And it's a high-level heaven-defying divine art. Zhang Sanbao's expression changed and quickly reminded her. What? He actually used a high-level heaven-defying divine art? Isn't this clearly bullying our Xiaojin? Doesn't have a heaven-defying divine art. Everyone was instantly enraged. The black python roared in the sky, its ferocious might shaking the world. Its bloody mouth seemed to want to swallow Zhao Xiaojin whole. Zhao Xiaojin's pupils contracted. When the black python pounced on him, he used teleportation and narrowly avoided it. However, although she managed to avoid the attack of the black python, a scratch mark was left on her left shoulder. Her clothes were torn, revealing her white skin. Streaks of blood seeped out of the 3 scratches. How is it? It's not too late to admit defeat now, so that you won't suffer any physical pain. Feng Huanyun laughed loudly. You think you're worthy of me admitting defeat? Zhao Xiaojin looked at the wound on his shoulder with disdain. Ugh! Feng Huanyun was stunned. How dare he be so arrogant? Haha! That's what I like about you. Conquering a woman like you gives me a sense of accomplishment. Now have a good taste of despair. Feng Huanyun laughed heartily. With a loud clang, a 5-foot-long spear appeared. The spear was completely black, and the tip of the spear emitted a bone-piercing sharpness. Zhao Xiaojin's face darkened slightly, because this spear was also a heaven-defying divine artifact. This is too much. Not only did you activate a high-level heaven-defying divine art, you even used a heaven-defying divine artifact. Feng Huanyun, if you really have the ability, then put down these worldly possessions and fight with my sister openly. Zhao Yang roared. Although he was idle, although Zhao Xiaojin often scolded him, although he usually hated this sister of his, it was undeniable that he cared about his family and Zhao Xiaojin. That's right. If you have the ability, then put down these worldly possessions and fight with Xiaojin. Otherwise, even if you win, no one will be convinced. Everyone followed suit and roared. Unfair victory? What a bunch of naive idiots. Feng Wanyun shook his head and sneered. The spear recovered slightly and pierced towards Zhao Xiaojin's chest. Zhao Xiaojin dodged again and again, looking more and more embarrassed. This is the difference between identity and status. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's right. In terms of cultivation, Zhao Xiaojin is the same as Feng Wanyun. In terms of age, this Feng Wanyun is much older than Zhao Xiaojin. Zhao Xiaojin can catch up later. This is enough to prove that her talent is better than Feng Wanyun. But because of the difference in identity and status, Feng Wanyun has a heaven-defying divine artifact and a heaven-defying divine art. Otherwise, it is really hard to say who will win. Frenzy sighed. Indeed, there was nothing fair in this world. For someone like Feng Wanyun, even if he was just waiting for death, as long as he opened his mouth, he would be able to get the divine artifact that others dreamed of. For someone like Zhao Xiaojin, no matter how hard you work, you are still inferior to the other party. Fight back. Why do you only know how to dodge? Is this still your character, Zhao Xiaojin? In the sky, Feng Wanyun held a spear and laughed wildly in high spirits. This spear was only a low-level heaven-defying divine artifact, but for Zhao Xiaojin, it had an absolute suppression. She kept dodging. There were already more than a dozen wounds on her body, and her body was dyed red with blood. Puff! Suddenly, Zhao Xiaojin couldn't dodge in time, and the tip of the spear pierced into Zhao Xiaojin's right shoulder. Zhao Xiaojin's face instantly paled. Sister, why don't you admit defeat? Zhao Yang roared. Yes, listen to your trash brother, admit defeat, and then obediently be my woman. At that time you can have whatever divine art you want, whatever divine artifact you want. Feng Wanyun smiled and pulled out his spear. Blood gushed out from the wound on Zhao Xiaojin's shoulder like a fountain. But Zhao Xiaojin ignored the wound and stared at Feng Wanyun. You said my brother is trash? If he's not trash, then what is he? Feng Wanyun laughed. Being humiliated so openly, Zhao Yang's face was a little embarrassed. Zhao Xiaojin's expression became uglier and uglier and said, no matter how useless he is, only I, Zhao Xiaojin, can bully him. Who do you think you are? Feng Wanyun's smile froze. This woman really has character. Frenzy laughed. Indeed. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although he usually beat and scolded Zhao Yang, no one could erase the care in his heart. There was a good saying, beating is flirting, scolding is love. Zhao Xiaojin's attitude towards Zhao Yang had always been that he expected better from him and hoped that he could work harder. But there was no other way. Zhao Yang was like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. No matter how he beat or scolded him, it was useless. Who do I think I am? Good, good, good. You still have the strength to be arrogant. Looks like I'm not ruthless enough. Feng Wanyun came back to his senses and immediately became angry out of humiliation. He raised the spear in his hand and charged towards Zhao Xiaojin. Zhao Xiaojin took a step back and said indifferently, so this is your full strength? So what if it is? Can you block it? Feng Wanyun laughed proudly and shot out another spear. Looks like you're not only a scum, but also a frog at the bottom of a well. Stupid, ignorant. Zhao Xiaojin's face was full of disdain as he slowly raised his arm. Suddenly, a milky white divine light appeared from his palm. In the next instant, a 3-feet-long sword condensed, and a world-destroying sharpness immediately surged out. This is the law of light, sword of light. Qin Feiyang and Madman's eyes immediately widened in anger. Even the black-haired old man, who was sitting cross-legged on the city wall, suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the long sword in Zhao Xiaojin's hand in shock. Clang! Zhao Xiaojin grabbed the long sword and faced the long spear. The two divine weapons collided with a loud bang and were actually evenly matched. This, Feng Wanyun's eyes also suddenly widened as he exclaimed, how do you have a heaven-defying divine weapon? Heaven-defying divine weapon? Are your eyes playing tricks on you? Does this look like a divine weapon? Zhao Xiaojin sneered. It's not a heaven-defying divine weapon? Feng Huanyun looked at the long sword in a daze. You can't even recognize the power of law. Looks like you, the grandson of the 10th elder, are really a frog at the bottom of a well. Madman spoke with undisguised ridicule. The power of law. Feng Huanyun was shocked as he stared at Zhao Xiaojin in disbelief and roared. You have already comprehended the power of law? Xiaojin has already comprehended the power of law? Why didn't we know about this? The onlookers below were also surprised. Most of them lived in the East City, and some were even Zhao Xiaojin's neighbors. But comprehending the power of law was such a big matter. Yet there was no news at all? Are you very surprised? That's true. For a scum like you who only knows how to rely on your family background, the power of law is something that you will never be able to touch. Zhao Xiaojin had a look of contempt. That's right. She did have the qualifications to look down on Feng Huanyun. Feng Huanyun was older than her, and had a better family background than her. He also enjoyed more resources and treatment than her. But she relied on her own efforts to not only catch up to Feng Huanyun in cultivation, but she also comprehended the power of law, and left Feng Huanyun far behind. This was her, the genius girl of the East City. The power of law, she's only at the perfect immortal realm, but she actually comprehended the law of light. Feng Huanyun shook his head, finding it hard to accept this fact. Suddenly, he raised his head and roared. So what if you comprehended the first profundity of the law of light? I have a high-grade heaven-defying divine art, and you are still not my match. With a wave of his hand, the black python appeared again and pounced at Zhao Xiaojin with bared fangs and brandished claws. You are really pitiful. Apart from the heaven-defying divine items your grandfather gave you, you can't even take out a decent method. Zhao Xiaojin shook her head and pointed her finger in the air. She said coldly, Holy Radiance Sword. Clang! As the power of law appeared, an even more dazzling and terrifying divine sword appeared out of thin air. What is this? Holy Radiance Sword. This isn't the third profundity of the law of light? Frenzy looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Qin Feiyang also looked at the divine sword floating in front of Zhao Xiaojin with surprise and bewilderment. After repeated identification, he found that it was indeed the third profundity of the law of light, Holy Radiance Sword. Because he had grasped the law of light, he was extremely familiar with the third profundity, Holy Radiance Sword. Unbelievable! Not only did she comprehend the law of light, but she had also comprehended the third profundity. She was indeed worthy of being the genius girl of the East City. Just based on this point, she could crush countless geniuses of the Sky Cloud realm. Chapter 31:14. On the other hand, Feng Huanyun. At this moment, in front of Zhao Xiaojin, he seemed even more insignificant. He was even more embarrassed than a clown, because the two of them were no longer on the same level. Perfect indestructible, third profound. There's such a genius in the East City, and this old man didn't know it all? What a fool. At the same time, on the city wall, the black-haired old man looked at Zhao Xiaojin and muttered to himself. There was a trace of annoyance and excitement in his eyes. To be able to comprehend the third profound at such a young age, his future achievements would definitely be limitless. In the sky, Zhao Xiaojin grabbed the holy light sword, and divine light shone from her body. Like a holy goddess descending, she slashed at the black python. Boom! With a loud sound, the black python and the holy light sword shattered at the same time. Following that, Zhao Xiaojin waved her hand again and activated the second profound, Sword of Judgment. Clang! She grabbed the Sword of Judgment and landed in front of Feng Huanyun. The Sword of Judgment was placed directly on Feng Huanyun's neck. Feng Huanyun quivered, and only then did he recover from his shock. He raised his head and looked at Zhao Xiaojin in horror. He had never thought that a woman's talent would be so terrifying. He had never thought that one day, he would suffer such a huge humiliation in front of a woman. You've lost, Zhao Xiaojin said coldly. But Feng Huanyun acted as if he didn't hear it, and there was a trace of resentment in his frightened eyes. Zhao Xiaojin raised her eyebrows. Swoosh! Zhang Sanbao flew into the sky and stood beside Feng Huanyun. He looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said with a smile, Xiaojin, since you've won, put away the Sword of Judgment. In fact, he couldn't calm down. After being together for so many years, he didn't know anything about Zhao Xiaojin comprehending the power of law. Her talent was even better than his, because he had only comprehended one power of law, and had only reached the first profound, and Zhao Xiaojin had already reached the third profound. Because of this, his admiration for Zhao Xiaojin became even stronger. Only he, Zhang Sanbao, was worthy of such a woman. Zhao Xiaojin glanced at Zhang Sanbao, and said to Feng Wanyun, "As a man, I hope you'll keep your word." After saying that, she waved her hand, and the sword of judgment immediately dissipated. She turned around and left. But just as Zhao Xiaojin turned around, Feng Wanyun suddenly exploded, the spear in his hand piercing through Zhao Xiaojin's back like lightning, piercing through his lower abdomen. Zhang Sanbao was stunned. Qin Feiyang and the others were also dumbfounded. Even Zhao Xiaojin himself found it hard to believe. He had already lost, and the battle was already over, yet he still dared to launch a sneak attack from behind? Haha, damned woman, so what if you've comprehended the power of law? Didn't you fall into my hands in the end? Feng Wanyun's attack succeeded, and he immediately raised his head and laughed loudly. Brother Feng, you've gone too far. Zhang Sanbao regained his senses, pushed Feng Wanyun back with a palm, pulled out his spear and said angrily, "Too much?" Feng Wanyun laughed loudly and said proudly, "My grandfather is the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's 10th elder. Even if I kill her, what can you do to me?" You Zhang Sanbao frowned. Feng Wanyun laughed coldly. "What? Do you also want to make an enemy out of me?" Zhang Sanbao lowered his head. His face was filled with panic. He liked Zhao Xiaojin, but he was also afraid of Feng Wanyun's family background. Feng Wanyun took a step forward and snatched the spear from Zhang Sanbao's hands. Zhang Sanbao quivered and said in a fawning manner, "Brother Feng, little Jin Si of Qi has already been crippled. This matter can also end now." "End? No. Right now I have to say it's over. It's useless for anyone else to say it." Feng Wanyun shook his head and sneered. "We're all from the Alliance, why are you doing this?" Zhang Sanbao was burning with anxiety. "Zhang Sanbao, you're just a spineless coward. Scram, don't get in my way." At this time, Zhao Xiaojin, who was standing at the back, suddenly turned around and pushed Zhang Sanbao away. Zhang Sanbao's eyelids twitched. He immediately returned to Zhao Xiaojin's side and said softly, "Little Jin, I'm doing this for your own good." "For my own good?" "With your humble attitude. Even I feel embarrassed looking at you." Zhao Xiaojin sneered. He raised his head to look at Feng Wanyun and sneered, "In front of so many people, you actually dare to do such a thing like sneak attack. You are indeed a well-deserved grandson. You're fucking courting death." Feng Wanyun flew into a rage out of humiliation. The spear in his hand flickered with a faint light, and went straight for Zhao Xiaojin's forehead. "Brother Feng, you can't." Zhang Sanbao stood in front of Zhao Xiaojin, his face full of pleading. "Scram!" Feng Wanyun roared. "If you don't dare to make a move, then scram to the side." Zhao Xiaojin also pushed Zhang Sanbao away once again. Zhang Sanbao was in a difficult situation. In his opinion, he was trying his best to protect Zhao Xiaojin, but why was he not liked by Zhao Xiaojin? Feng Wanyun did not stop. The tip of his spear flickered with a bone-piercing cold light, and the killing intent in his eyes was not concealed. However, Zhao Xiaojin did not retreat, nor did he panic. He stared straight at Feng Wanyun. Even Qin Feiyang and Madman could not help but admire this courage and courage. "What should we do? What should we do?" Zhao Yang, who was beside him, was already sweating profusely. If he did not think of a way quickly, his sister would definitely die. But what could he do? For the first time, he felt his own incompetence. If he was willing to work harder in the past, he would not be in such a state now. In the nick of time, a divine light suddenly swept out from the city wall and struck Feng Wanyun's spear like lightning. Feng Wanyun was immediately forced back. Everyone was stunned and turned their heads to look at the city wall. They saw that the black-haired old man had already stood up and looked at Feng Wanyun with a trace of dissatisfaction. So it was this old man who made a move. Everyone suddenly realized. Ordinary people would definitely not dare to interfere in Feng Wanyun's matters. Zhao Xiaojin came back to his senses and turned to look at the black-haired old man. He bowed and said, "Thank you, Elder Qing. It's fine." Elder Qing waved his hand and looked at Feng Wanyun. Let people off when possible, don't go too far. Who do you think you are? Are you qualified to teach me a lesson? Feng Wanyun said angrily. Still arrogant? Madman was surprised. Although this elder Qing is powerful, Feng Wanyun has his grandfather as his backing, so he naturally won't put elder Qing in his eyes. In Feng Wanyun's eyes, elder Qing might just be a gatekeeper. Qin Feiyong laughed secretly. A trace of disgust crawled up in Madman's eyes as he pursed his lips and said, "This kind of person needs to be taught a lesson. Since elder Qing has already made a move, then there's no need for us to make a move. Let's just wait and see." Qin Feiyong thought. If elder Qing didn't make a move, then they definitely wouldn't sit back and do nothing. But now that elder Qing had made a move, it wasn't their turn. Facing Feng Wanyun's insults, elder Qing couldn't help but frown and said, "If you continue to pester me like this, I don't mind teaching you a lesson on behalf of your grandfather." "You? Teach this young master a lesson?" Haha. Feng Wanyun laughed out loud as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Elder Qing has always been highly respected in our alliance. Don't tell me he doesn't have the right to teach you a lesson? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded. Everyone raised their heads and saw a slender young man in white walking out of the void. It's him. Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other. That's right. This person was the eldest grandson of the Vice Alliance leader, Yitian. It's young Master Yitian. Why is he here? The surrounding crowd was also in an uproar. The men treated Yitian as their idol, while the women treated Yitian as their dream lover. Not only that, Yitian was extremely popular. Yitian, when Feng Wanyun saw Yitian appear, he also trembled, and an indescribable fear emerged in his eyes. Big brother Yitian. Zhao Xiaojin was also overjoyed as she ran to Yitian with a face full of worship. Big brother Yitian? Why did Xiaojin call him big brother? Everyone was suspicious, because in the Alliance City almost everyone called Yitian young master, and very few people called him big brother. Those who would call him that must be close to him. Xiaojin, you're amazing. It's only been a short time since we last met, and you've already comprehended the third profound. Yitian looked at the woman in front of him, slowly raised his big hand, rubbed Zhao Xiaojin's head and smiled. Everyone was dumbfounded. What was going on? The way Yitian looked at Zhao Xiaojin was too gentle, and filled with doting. Furthermore, Zhao Xiaojin had also changed from her previous barbaric self, and was as obedient as a little sheep. At this moment, the one who found it the most difficult to accept was Zhang Sanbao. Zhao Xiaojin had always been a woman he adored, but looking at the relationship between Zhao Xiaojin and Yitian, it seemed that it was not simple. A sense of jealousy immediately crept up in his heart. Next was Feng Wanyun. He never thought that Zhao Xiaojin and Yitian actually had such a close relationship. Who was Yitian? He was the eldest grandson of the Vice Alliance leader. Since young, he had been the focus of the Eastern continent's attention. Now he was a man who had grasped two types of law force. Not to mention him, even his grandfather, the 10th elder, had to be polite in front of Yitian. And now, he actually provoked Yitian's woman, and even almost died in his hands. Wasn't this hitting an iron plate? Zhao Xiaojin lowered her head and said, "No matter how powerful I am, I'm not as powerful as you, big brother Yitian. What's so powerful about me?" Yitian shook his head and laughed bitterly. A figure involuntarily appeared in his mind. The owner of this figure was Qin Feiyong. If one were to talk about being powerful, then this person was truly powerful. Zhao Xiaojin raised her head and looked at Yitian suspiciously. Why did she catch a trace of disappointment from big brother Yitian's expression? Wait a moment. Yitian smiled at Zhao Xiaojin, and then walked step by step in front of Feng Wanyun. Feng Wanyun was extremely nervous. His face was also full of flattering smiles and said, "Brother Tianba." However, before he could say anything, Yitian raised his hand and slapped him on the face. Feng Wanyun's expression froze, and immediately said, "Brother Tian, can you leave me some face? You and little Jean were originally in a fair battle. Since you lost, then as a man you should accept your loss. But what about you? What did you do? Sneak attack? And it's a sneak attack on a woman. Do you think you still have any face in the alliance?" Yitian gave him another slap. Yes, 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 I'm sorry, it's all my fault, I apologize, Feng Wanyun begged for mercy. Previously, he was so arrogant that he didn't even put an old senior like Elder Qing in his eyes. However, at this moment he was like a little lamb. From this, it could be seen that Yi Tian's prestige in the alliance was not ordinary. Chapter 31:15. Apologize to Elder Qing. Yi Tian retreated to the side and pointed at Elder Qing. Feng Wanyun covered his face and ran to Elder Qing. He lowered his head and said, I'm sorry. Kneel down and apologize. Dan said, kneel down. Feng Wanyun froze. If it weren't for Elder Qing and the other seniors who risked their lives to fight for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance back then, would you have such a good life now? Yi Tian raised his eyebrows and landed in front of Feng Wanyun. He raised his hand and slapped him again. I'll kneel, I'll kneel. Feng Wanyun hurriedly knelt in the air and looked at Elder Qing. Elder Qing, I'm really sorry. I'll definitely change in the future. It's great that you can change your mistakes. Get up. Elder Qing smiled. Thank you, Elder Qing. Feng Wanyun was extremely grateful. Finally, he didn't have to be beaten up. Yi Tian said again, kneel down and apologize to Xiaojin. Feng Wanyun froze. Yi Tian said, this is your bet with her. A man must keep his word. Feng Wanyun clenched his fists. He was convinced that he would kneel down to Elder Qing. After all, as Yi Tian said, these were all seniors. But Zhao Xiaojin was a woman and she was of the same generation. If he kneeled down to a woman of the same generation, how could he face others in the future? Brother Yi Tian, forget it. As long as his grandfather doesn't make things difficult for my father, it's fine. Although Zhao Xiaojin was a little wild, she wasn't stupid. If she really made Feng Wanyun kneel in front of everyone, she would have to be wary of Feng Wanyun's revenge at all times. So, she might as well act magnanimous and gain a good reputation for being magnanimous. Indeed, as soon as she said that, everyone gave Zhao Xiaojin a thumbs up. Even Elder Qing was full of praise. All right then. Yi Tian nodded and smiled at Zhao Xiaojin. He looked at Feng Wanyun and said, why aren't you thanking Xiaojin? She has already given you enough face this time. Thank you, Miss Xiaojin. Feng Wanyun looked at Zhao Xiaojin and smiled. No need, no need. Zhao Xiaojin waved her hand as if she was driving a fly away. Feng Wanyun smiled bitterly and retreated to the side. He glanced at the crowd below and his gaze suddenly locked onto Madman. Sensing Feng Wanyun's gaze, the madman's brows twitched as he muttered inwardly, Kid, you better have some discerning eyes. Don't provoke me. Simultaneously, Yi Tian took out an Essence C Divine Pill and passed it to Zhao Xiaojin. Thank you, Brother Yi Tian. Zhao Xiaojin happily received the Origin C Divine Pill. The Essence C Divine Pill was used to repair the Qi C. Its effect was many times stronger than the Spirit C Pill. Looking at Zhao Xiaojin's expression, it seemed that he was unwilling to consume it. What are you doing? Yi Tian looked at her suspiciously. Nothing, nothing. Zhao Xiaojin hurriedly waved his hand. Looking a little flustered, he quickly stuffed the Yuan Hai Divine Pill into his mouth. All right then, I'll head back first. As for your father, the 10th elder doesn't have the final say. My grandfather has to make the decision. Yi Tian smiled. The meaning behind his words was very clear. He was going to get involved until the end. All right. Zhao Xiaojin nodded. Yi Tian smiled at Elder Qing, then entered the alliance capital without looking back. Zhao Yang quickly flew up and looked at Zhao Xiaojin suspiciously. He asked in a low voice, Sister, when did you know him? None of your business. Zhao Xiaojin immediately frowned. Zhao Yang shrunk his neck and muttered unhappily, If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Why are you so fierce? Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. As expected, he had returned to his original nature. Elder Qing took a few steps forward and looked at Zhao Xiaojin with a hoarse smile. You're Zhao Eryong's daughter, right? Yes. Zhao Xiaojin nodded respectfully. Not bad, not bad. Zhao Eryong has a good daughter. Elder Qing chuckled. Elder Qing, you flatter me. Zhao Xiaojin hurriedly waved his hand. I'm not praising you. It's the truth. To be able to comprehend the power of law and the third profound at the perfected year undead realm, with your talent, It's not an exaggeration to say that you're the best in the Eastern continent. I was really blind in the past. I actually didn't notice it at all. Don't worry, I'll report it to the deputy leader. No? With young Master Yi Tian's appearance, it seems that I don't need to report it. Xiaojin, just go home and wait for the good news. Elder Qing laughed hoarsely and then returned to the city wall. There's nothing to see. Everyone disperse. Then, he sat cross-legged on the city wall and slowly closed his eyes. Xiaojin, I didn't expect you to hide it so well. Even us neighbors don't know about it. Are you afraid that we'll be jealous? Everyone gathered around Zhao Xiaojin. No. I just don't think it's a big deal, so I didn't say it. Zhao Xiaojin hurriedly waved her hand. This is not a big deal. You're really broad-minded, girl. This is great. With your talent, you can definitely enter the Hall of Fame. Everyone was talking at once, and their faces were full of smiles. Hall of Fame? I think I'm still lacking. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. Not bad, more than enough. Everyone waved their hands. What's the Hall of Fame? Madman looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. How would I know? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him. However, looking at everyone's envious eyes, the Hall of Fame should be a very powerful place. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of a gunshot suddenly exploded in the void. Everyone suddenly quivered and looked at Feng Wanyun. Why hasn't he left yet? Feng Wanyun glanced at Zhao Xiaojin, then lowered his head to look at Madman and said, Brat, this young master wants to challenge you. Huh? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Challenging senior brother Madman? Is this person crazy? The others also looked at Madman in unison. Why is he challenging this person? That's right. At that time in Fengchan Tower, it was this person who ran out and proposed for Zhao Xiaojin and Feng Wanyun to fight one-on-one. And now Feng Wanyun had fallen to such a sorry state, so naturally, he wouldn't let this person go so easily. However, this person had a small success in perishable realm cultivation. His appearance was also ordinary, as if there was nothing outstanding about him. Zhao Xiaojin raised her eyebrows and looked at Feng Wanyun. Have you had enough? The person this young master is challenging is him. What does it have to do with you? Don't think that just because you have some relationship with Brother Tian, you can control the world. Feng Wanyun sneered. Zhao Xiaojin couldn't help but frown. Madman sighed. There really are people who aren't afraid of death? Don't make a move. Your evil force is unique. Once you make a move, you will definitely expose our identities. Qin Feiyong transmitted. Then I won't use my evil force. Madman took a step forward and landed in front of Feng Wanyun, smiling. After suffering a loss at Zhao Xiaojin's hands, you came to me to look for face. You really know how to play. Cut the crap. If you lose, kneel down in front of everyone and kowtow to apologize. The spear in Feng Wanyun's hand trembled, and a monstrous sharp aura suddenly surged out. Madman had his hands behind his back. His eyes filled with ridicule. Are you stupid? Hurry up and get out of the way, pretending to be calm and standing there. Are you waiting for death? Zhao Xiaojin glared at Madman. Pretending to be calm? Madman was stunned. Does this look like I'm pretending? What kind of eyes are you looking at? Seeing that Zhao Xiaojin seemed to be concerned about Madman, Zhang Sanbao frowned and ran over with a smile. Xiaojin, you really know him? Zhao Xiaojin nodded. Zhang Sanbao asked suspiciously. Then who is he? I've never seen him before. Aren't you annoying? Zhao Xiaojin glared at him. Zhang Sanbao smiled bitterly and stood at the side, looking at the motionless Madman. His eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess. First it was Yi Tian and now this person appeared. They were all people that Zhao Xiaojin cared about, and he was unwilling to accept it. Thinking back to all these years, he had been very concerned about Zhao Xiaojin, but Zhao Xiaojin had never revealed even a trace of concern for him. So, the more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and he almost couldn't help but hate. I'll defeat you in one move. Feng Wanyun sneered at Madman, his spear emitting a black light, like a black python, piercing towards Madman's forehead. Who doesn't know how to brag? That depends on whether you have the ability or not. Madman laughed, and a divine thunder roared out from his body, shattering the void. This is... Zhao Xiaojin's pupils shrank. Zhang Sanbao was also shocked. Elder Qing, who was sitting on the city wall, opened his eyes again and stared at the divine thunder around Madman's body. This was the law of thunder. Boom! Crack! The divine thunder was like a heavenly tribulation descending, condensing into a hammer. The second profound of the law of thunder, Thunder God's hammer, understand? Madman grinned, grabbed the Thunder God's hammer, and smashed it towards the spear. With a loud clang, the spear shattered on the spot. After all, this spear was only a low-level heaven-defying divine artifact, and it was much weaker than the second profound. At the same time, Feng Wanyun's entire body was also sent flying by the huge force, blood gushing out of his mouth. The arm that was holding the spear was also shaken to the point of flesh and blood flying everywhere. The second profound of the law of thunder? What's going on? Usually we don't see a single monster like this. Why did two appear in a row today? Everyone was shocked. Elder Qing was the same. A small success immortal realm cultivator had actually comprehended the second profound? This talent seemed to be even better than Zhao Xiaojin's. Needless to say, Feng Wanyun was even more so. He originally wanted to pick a soft persimmon to vent his anger and regain some face, but he didn't expect to hit an iron plate again. When you looked at me just now, I said in my heart that you better have some eyesight and don't provoke me. Unfortunately, your eyesight is not good enough. Now, not only did you not regain your face, you even lost more face. What is this called? Oh right, you're asking to be humiliated. Madman's face was full of ridicule. Feng Wanyun's face was extremely ugly. Today was simply the biggest humiliation of his life for him. Enough, let's stop here. Qin Feiyong stepped in front of Madman and stopped him. He transmitted his voice to Feng Wanyun. Trust me, don't make trouble, or you'll lose even more face later. Feng Wanyun gloomily looked at Qin Feiyong, then glanced at Madman. He put away the fragments of the spear, turned around and flew away. Brother Feng, I'll send you off. Zhang Sanbao hurriedly chased after him. What are you doing? I still want to teach him a lesson and teach him a lesson. Madman looked at Qin Feiyong with dissatisfaction. Come on, you're a small success immortal realm cultivator. It's already shocking enough that you revealed the second profound. If you reveal the third profound, I'm afraid it will arouse suspicion. Because now everyone in the Eastern continent knows that the two of us are small success immortal realm cultivators, and have both mastered the third profound. If they think of something, won't we be finished? Qin Feiyong thought. Although he had the identity token given by Zhao Eryong, it couldn't withstand scrutiny, because there was no information about the two of them in the Alliance capital. Therefore it was better to keep a low profile. It was not a good thing to attract too much attention. Chapter 31:16. Alright. Being too talented is also a problem. Madman dispersed the Thor's hammer, withdrawing the law of thunder into his body, looking as lonely as snow. Qin Feiyong wanted to slap him. I didn't see it. You actually comprehended the law of thunder. Zhao Xiaojin walked in front of Madman and said in surprise. Of course. Who am I? The number one monster of the Alliance capital. I just wanted to keep a low profile. Madman smiled proudly. Number one monster of the Alliance capital? Zhao Xiaojin's mouth twitched. The others couldn't help but roll their eyes. This guy really dared to brag. Who didn't know that the number one monster of the Alliance capital was Yi Tian? This time, Elder Qing waved at Madman and Zhao Xiaojin and smiled. You two come here. Qin Feiyong's heart trembled, and he transmitted his voice to Madman. Don't show any flaws. Got it. Madman replied and followed Zhao Xiaojin to Elder Qing. Elder Qing looked at Madman and asked, What's your name? Emouhue. Madman replied. Emouhue? Elder Qing pondered for a while and frowned. Why haven't I heard of this name? I'm just a small success immortal realm cultivator, so how could you know me? Madman smiled embarrassedly. That's true. Elder Qing nodded and smiled. You're even more low-key than Zhao Xiaojin. I can't help it. Zhao Xiaojin has a father to protect him, and I only have a brother. We brothers depend on each other, so we have to keep a low profile. Just like today, if we accidentally offended someone like Feng Wanyun, we wouldn't even know how we died. Madman said with a face full of grievance. That's true. Elder Qing nodded, his face full of sympathy. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "He's your brother?" "Yes. My brother is called Mo." Madman nodded. "All right. Work hard. And I'll report it to the higher-ups and see if I can help you get a spot in the Hall of Fame. If you can enter the Hall of Fame, then no one will dare to bully you." Elder Qing smiled. "Thank you, Elder Qing." The madman bowed with a grateful look on his face. "Why are you thanking me? Discovering and nurturing talents is what we should do." Elder Qing waved his hand and smiled. Madman sighed. "If only everyone in the Alliance capital was like you. Listen to what you're saying. No matter where you go, there will always be some bad people. But in the end, good people still make up the majority." Elder Qing smiled. Yes, yes, yes." Madman nodded. "All right then, let's establish a contract bridge, so that we can contact you when the time comes." After Elder Qing finished speaking, he looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said with a smile, "Take out the Divine Sound Transmission Stone as well." The two of them took out the Divine Sound Transmission Stone and established a contract bridge with Elder Qing. "Then you can go back first." Elder Qing smiled. "All right." The two nodded respectfully. Then they turned to Qin Feiyang and Zhao Yang and said, "Let's go." The two of them hurriedly followed. He entered the city again. Many people began to look at Zhao Xiaojin in awe. First, it was because of her own strength. Second, it was because of her relationship with Yi Tian. Zhao Yang moved closer to Zhao Xiaojin and said with a flattering smile, "Sister, just tell me, when did you meet Yi Tian? If he didn't figure it out, he would feel uncomfortable. Can you shut up?" Zhao Xiaojin glared at him impatiently. "I'm your brother." Zhao Yang pouted. "You're my brother, yes, but what have you done for me? I'm the one who helps you clean up the mess outside all day." Zhao Xiaojin snorted coldly. Yes, yes, yes. My sister is the best. She's simply a little fairy." Zhao Yang chuckled. Zhao Xiaojin burst out laughing. She then glared at Zhao Yang and said, "Big brother Yi Tian and I met on my 16th birthday. What the hell? You met at the age of 16. Zhao Yang was stunned. Zhao Xiaojin nodded. "You're good hiding it from us for so many years." The corner of Zhao Yang's mouth twitched. At the age of 16, she was still a young girl. Although Zhao Xiaojin looked young now, she was an old antique who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Brother Yi Tian didn't let me say it. He said that if everyone knew that I knew him, it would definitely bring a lot of unnecessary trouble. So we've been secretly meeting. Zhao Xiaojin said. "It's a secret rendezvous, right? I was wondering why you looked down on Zhang Sanbao. It turns out that you already have someone in your heart." Zhao Yang pouted. "Don't talk nonsense." Zhao Xiaojin blushed and glared at him fiercely. Okay. Anyway, I don't like this Zhang Sanbao. He flatters and has no backbone at all. Yi Tian is still the best. If I become his brother-in-law, won't I be able to do whatever I want in the alliance in the future?" Zhao Yang rubbed his hands with a yearning look. "Brother-in-law, you're thinking too much." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "You're jealous of me, I won't argue with you." Zhao Yang smiled proudly. "Jealous?" Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said with a smile, "I can see that you really like Yi Tian." Zhao Xiaojin's face turned red instantly. Qin Feiyang changed the topic and said, "But I can also see Yi Tian's attitude towards you." Zhao Xiaojin immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. "The way he looks at you." When Qin Feiyang said this, he seemed to have thought of something beautiful and couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile on his face. "Say it," Zhao Xiaojin urged. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhao Xiaojin, shook his head and said with a smile, "Forget it, I'd better not say it lest it hurts you." "Why are you like this? You're only saying half the words. Aren't you keeping me in suspense?" "I have to say I'm not afraid of being hurt," Zhao Xiaojin said angrily. "All right. The way Yi Tian looks at you is like looking at a cute little sister. So in Yi Tian's heart, he only sees you as a little sister and has no other thoughts." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "You don't say that's really the case. The way he looks at Zhao Xiaojin is the same as how you look at Fire Lotus and Shangguanqiu," Madman secretly said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "That's why I can clearly feel it." At the same time, when Zhao Xiaojin heard this, her body stiffened slightly, but she quickly returned to normal and said unhappily, You don't have the fiery eyes of truth, how can you see it with a glance? The emotions in the eyes can't be hidden. It's just that you're in it and didn't notice it. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Hearing this, Zhao Xiaojin pursed her lips. Even if what you said is true, I'm still very satisfied to be Big Brother Yitian's little sister. It's best if you have such thoughts, lest you and Yitian get hurt in the future. In any case, feelings can't be forced. Otherwise, in the end, not to mention siblings with different surnames, we can't even be friends. Qin Feiyong laughed. You seem to know a lot about feelings? Zhao Xiaojin looked at Qin Feiyong in astonishment. Me? Qin Feiyong was stunned and shook his head with a smile. Consider it as an experienced person speaking. Experienced person? You're already married. The brothers all looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. Is there a problem? Qin Feiyong didn't understand. There's a problem. Zhao Yang mumbled as he carefully sized up Qin Feiyong from head to toe. What problem? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Look at you. You don't have talent, you don't have strength, you don't have talent. Let's not talk about others first, let's talk about me. Look at your appearance, you can't even reach 1/3 of my handsomeness. How can there be a woman who likes you? This woman must be blind. Or she's a dinosaur-level woman. Yes, that must be the case. Looking at Zhao Yang shaking his head and feeling good about himself, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but want to laugh. To be honest, this person was quite amusing. Zhao Yang looked at Qin Feiyong's silence and chuckled. Am I right? Yes, yes, yes. Young Master Zhao is talented and intelligent, I admire you. Qin Feiyong chuckled. Zhao Yang smiled proudly, then pulled Qin Feiyong to the side and said in a low voice, Brother, don't be discouraged. There's no rule in this world that says a married man can't have fun outside, right? What are you trying to say? Qin Feiyong was stunned. What I want to say is, I'll bring you to the Fengchun Tower to have fun one day, I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. Zhao Yang chuckled. Qin Feiyong was stunned. No need to thank me, we're brothers, we share blessings and misfortunes. Zhao Yang hooked his arm around Qin Feiyong's neck. His head held high and his chest puffed out, looking quite comical. Do you want to bring me to have fun too? Zhao Xiaojin pinched Zhao Yang's ear and laughed maliciously. Why would a girl like you go? Zhao Yang hurriedly shouted. You're still talking about it? Zhao Xiaojin gritted her teeth. I'll stop. Zhao Yang waved his hands and begged for mercy. You're a good-for-nothing and you want to lead others astray? I really want to kick you to death. Zhao Xiaojin's face was filled with anger. These siblings are really a pair of enemies. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. You don't say, it's quite fortunate to have a sister like her to take care of me. Madman transmitted his voice. You mean Zhuo Shaoxian isn't strict enough with you? Okay, when we return to the Black Tortoise world, I'll find her and discuss this. Qin Feiyong smiled mockingly. Scram. I'm talking about my sister, not my wife. Madman rolled his eyes and pondered for a while before transmitting his voice. Tell me, what is my background? I don't know. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Madman asked. Then tell me, do I have any brothers or sisters? Yes, I'm your brother. Qin Feiyong smiled. Madman glared at him unhappily, but his heart was warm. What would the future be like? But at least now he wasn't alone. Along the way, the siblings played around and finally returned home. Are you guys all right? Wang Shui immediately came up to them, her face full of concern. I'm fine. Zhao Xiaojin shook her head. But why are there so many bloodstains on your body? Wang Shui looked at Zhao Xiaojin, who was covered in blood, and frowned. Mother, it's really nothing serious. I'll go wash up. You can properly entertain these two guests. Zhao Xiaojin smiled mischievously at Wang Shui and ran into the house. Chapter 31:17. Is it really okay? Wang Shui looked at Zhao Xiaojin's back before looking at Zhao Yang and Qin Feiyong. What do you mean it's okay? It's a big deal. Zhao Yang was excited. What is it? Wang Shui was surprised. Qin Feiyong and the madman glanced at Zhao Yang. Another round of drumming was unavoidable. Qin Feiyong looked at Wang Shui and smiled. Auntie, you guys take your time. Let's go sit in the courtyard outside. Wang Shui was slightly stunned and hurriedly said. Then I'll let Yang accompany you guys. No need. You guys chat. Qin Feiyong smiled. All right then, treat this place as your own home, don't be polite. Wang Shui smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and then brought Madman out of the pavilion and into the pavilion. Calling me out, do you have something to say? Madman was suspicious. And there's a change in the plan. Qin Feiyang nodded and sat by the stone table. He pondered for a while and said, Zhao Eryong's token should be safe now, but what? Madman frowned. Qin Feiyang sighed. But now, I'm afraid there's no way to move Wang Shui and the rest. So it's about this. Madman nodded and said, I think so too. Zhao Xiaojin has shown extraordinary talent, and has attracted the attention of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's upper echelons. If she suddenly disappeared, it would definitely cause a commotion. That's right. Especially since she has such a relationship with Yi Tian. Even if she didn't show extraordinary talent, with her relationship with Yi Tian, it's very dangerous for her to go to the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang sighed. This matter was somewhat out of his expectations. Yi Tian was the Vice Lord's eldest grandson and Zhao Xiaojin had been in love with Yi Tian for a long time. If Zhao Xiaojin were to find out about the situation in the Black Tortoise world and secretly send a message to Yi Tian, then their situation would be very bad. Then how about this, destroy her voice transmission Godstone? Madman transmitted. If they destroyed Zhao Xiaojin's voice transmission Godstone, then even if Zhao Xiaojin knew their identity, she wouldn't be able to inform Yi Tian. No. The Divine Sound Transmission Stone is different from the Image Crystal. Once the Divine Sound Transmission Stone is destroyed, Yi Tian will guess whether she met with an accident or not. When the time comes, I'll definitely search everywhere. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then why don't you destroy it and let us keep it? Madman asked. That won't work either. If Yi Tian sends her a message and no one responds, Yi Tian will also become suspicious. When he comes here to take a look, his whole family is gone. Think about it, who wouldn't be suspicious when encountering such a thing? In short, Zhao Xiaojin has already attracted everyone's attention. This family cannot suddenly disappear at this time. Qin Feiyang said. Then what should we do? We can't keep wasting time like this. Madman raised his eyebrows. We can't keep wasting time like this. We have to find out the relationship between the vice leader and the Blood Hall as soon as possible. When Qin Feiyang said this, his expression suddenly changed. He pondered for a while and looked at Madman. The Hall of the Exalted. Hall of Fame. Madman was taken aback and asked suspiciously, What do you mean? I heard everyone talking about this Hall of the Exalted. Seems to be very amazing. Say, if I enter the Hall of the Exalted, will I be able to get close to the vice leader? Qin Feiyang secretly said. This? Madman was silent and shook his head. I don't know. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said. Then when Zhao Xiaojin comes out, we will first inquire about the Hall of the Exalted. Madman nodded. Even Yi Tian didn't know the reason why the vice leader killed them, so they had to start from the vice leader himself. And to get close to the vice leader wasn't an easy task. Because Elder Hu personally said that even the people they arranged in the Alliance capital couldn't get close to the vice leader. This meant that the vice leader must be very careful when dealing with this matter. It would be difficult to find out. After a while, Zhao Xiaojin walked out. Her long hair was wet and she was wearing a loose dress. She looked somewhat charming. Why are you guys sitting here? She walked to the pavilion while wiping her hair and looking at the two of them. The air is good. Madman laughed out loud. Zhao Xiaojin rolled her eyes and sat opposite the two of them. Now tell me, why are you looking for us? Yes. Madman grinned. Zhao Xiaojin's face instantly darkened and she said angrily, I haven't settled the score with you for calling me a tigress, so you better behave yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. I'm looking forward to it. How are you going to be impolite to me? Madman looked at her teasingly. You, Zhao Xiaojin suddenly stood up, her jade-like hands clenched tightly. All right. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, Miss Xiaojin, I have a question that I would like to ask. Do you see that? What is attitude? Learn more. Zhao Xiaojin glared at Madman, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, What question? Speak. Qin Feiyang said, What do I have to do to meet the two leaders? Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. What? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. No, are you sure you want to meet the two leaders? Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhao Xiaojin's expression suddenly became strange. Is this kid crazy? Why doesn't he take a look at his status and strength? He actually wants to meet the leaders? What's with that look of yours? Are you looking down on us? Madman frowned, his face full of displeasure. It's not that I'm looking down on you guys, but you guys think too highly of yourselves. Not to mention the leader. Even the deputy leader is not someone you can meet. Not to mention you guys, even my father, the city lords of the various cities in the alliance capital, have to report first and wait for notice if they want to meet the deputy leader. Zhao Xiaojin pouted. Such arrogance? Madman raised his brows. Zhao Xiaojin said indifferently, it's not arrogance, it's just that their status and identity are there. Then what if they enter the Hall of Fame? Qin Feiyang asked. Enter the Hall of Fame? Zhao Xiaojin was stunned for a moment before nodding. Then there's hope to meet the two leaders. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other, a glint flashing in their eyes. Then what kind of place is the Hall of Fame? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. He looked at the two of them and asked, you guys don't even know about the Hall of Fame? Are you guys from the alliance capital? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. No. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. Although we're members of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance, this is our first time in the alliance capital. Qin Feiyang smiled. The alliance capital was just the headquarters of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance. There were many people outside. For example, Zhuo Xiaoxian, Zhuo Xiaocheng, and the guards of the City Lord Mansion were actually considered members of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance. First time in the alliance capital? Then how did you guys join the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance? Zhao Xiaojin was suspicious. This is all thanks to your father. Back then, when we were in trouble, he was kind enough to save us. Seeing that we were all alone, he let us join the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance. Qin Feiyang smiled. I see. Zhao Xiaojin came to a realization and said, in that case, my father is your benefactor. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. That's not right. Back then, when my father was talking about you guys, he seemed to be a little afraid of you guys. Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Afraid? I'm afraid your eyes are playing tricks on you. With our cultivation, how can your father be afraid of us? Qin Feiyang shook his head. But he said that no matter what you guys say, we have to listen to you guys. Isn't that fear? Zhao Xiaojin was suspicious. Perhaps your father didn't express it clearly. His original intention was that since we're new here, you guys should take care of us. Qin Feiyang smiled. Is that so? Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Qin Feiyang said, if you don't believe me, you can send a message to your father. Of course we'll explain it clearly. Okay. Zhao Xiaojin nodded and took out the voice transmission divine stone. Buzz. Soon. Zhao Eryong's virtual image appeared. Father. Zhao Xiaojin smiled sweetly. You lass, I was just about to send you a message. You've comprehended the law of light and even comprehended the third profound meaning. How could you hide such a big matter from your father? Zhao Eryong immediately scolded him. You already know about it. Zhao Xiaojin giggled. You and Feng Wanyun made such a big fuss that even young Master Yutian personally came out. How could I not know? Zhao Eryong was helpless. Zhao Xiaojin said aggrievedly, you can't blame me for this. Feng Wanyun went too far. Alright, I got it. Fortunately, you made such a fuss. The higher-ups have already sent me a message saying that the 10th Elder's order is invalid. Zhao Eryong smiled. That's great. Zhao Xiaojin was overjoyed. What's so great about it? Zhao Eryong shook his head. Of course, he could think of the problem that Qin Feiyang and Frenzy could think of. Now that his daughter was receiving a lot of attention, if she moved, she would definitely attract everyone's attention. Zhao Eryong said, Xiaojin, leave for a while. Leave? Zhao Xiaojin glanced at Qin Feiyang and Frenzy and immediately said unhappily, Father, what exactly are you hiding from us? If I tell you to leave, then leave. Zhao Eryong's expression turned cold. No. Zhao Xiaojin shook her head. You. There was a trace of anger on Zhao Eryong's face. Zhao Xiaojin said, we have to make it clear in person. Did you recruit the two of them into the Rogue Cultivator Alliance? Zhao Eryong was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyong and Frenzy suspiciously. This is what happened. Qin Feiyong briefly explained the conversation with Zhao Xiaojin. So that's what it is. Zhao Eryong was enlightened. He looked at Zhao Xiaojin and said, I did save them back then. And it was because they were alone that I recruited them into the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Really? Zhao Xiaojin frowned. Of course. They have been wandering outside for the past few years. I saw that they had already broken through to the initial imperishable stage, so I let them come to the Alliance capital to see the strength of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Zhao Eryong nodded. Zhao Xiaojin finally believed it. She said unhappily, all right then, you can talk in private. She emphasized the word private to express the dissatisfaction in her heart. Then, she threw the divine voice stone to Qin Feiyong and turned to walk into the attic angrily. Chapter 31:18. After Qin Feiyong watched Zhao Xiaojin enter the pavilion, he looked at Zhao Eryong and said with a smile, this daughter of yours is a little difficult to deal with. That's good. She won't suffer outside. Zhao Eryong said. Qin Feiyong looked around and said in a low voice, the situation has changed. I can see it. Zhao Eryong nodded. Qin Feiyong said in a low voice, in the future, we will tell the public that you recruited us into the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, orphans without parents. What about my wife and 2 sons? Zhao Eryong frowned. Qin Feiyong glanced at the pavilion and said in a low voice, don't worry about that. I will ensure their safety. All right. Then I won't say much. You guys be careful. Zhao Eryong reminded. Qin Feiyong nodded. Zhao Eryong's image dissipated. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and muttered to himself. Not long after, Zhao Xiaojin walked out and changed into a clean tight outfit. Her hair was tied behind her head, looking neat and capable. Are you done chatting? She walked into the pavilion and looked at the 2 of them. Qin Feiyong returned the voice transmission god stone to Zhao Xiaojin. Zhao Xiaojin pursed her lips and said, I really don't know what it is that I can't know. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, a woman definitely can't know about a man's matters. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. She glanced at the pavilion and said in a low voice, could it be that father has a new woman outside? Qin Feiyong and Madman exchanged glances. This woman's thoughts changed too quickly. They couldn't adapt to it. What if that's the case? Madman looked at her teasingly. Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? But it's wrong to hide it from us. Anyway, I don't care. It depends on whether mother can accept it or not. Of course, I will definitely stand on my mother's side. Zhao Xiaojin snorted coldly. Madman was speechless and asked curiously, tell us about this Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame. A look of yearning appeared on Zhao Xiaojin's face. He looked up at the sky and said, this place is our alliance's holy land for cultivation. Cultivation holy land? Madman and Qin Feiyong were even more curious. Yes. To be honest, Big Brother Yitian often brings me to the Hall of Fame. Zhao Xiaojin chuckled. What? The 2 of them were stunned. But every time I hide in his spatial divine item so no one knows. The Hall of the Exalted is not only rich in resources, but also has temporal arrays. Zhao Xiaojin's face was filled with excitement. Time array? Qin Feiyong and Qin Feng were stunned. Yes. It's a time formation that lasts 500 years per day. How about it? Amazing, right? Zhao Xiaojin looked at the 2 of them proudly. 500 years in one day? Qin Feiyong and the mad scientist looked at each other. They were wondering how powerful he was. It was just like the time array that Ice Dragon had set up on the Divine Dragon Island. It was twice as extensive as the Black Tortoise Realm. What's with that expression? Aren't you surprised at all? Zhao Xiaojin looked at the 2 of them and couldn't help but frown. Surprised, of course I'm surprised. I've never heard of such a powerful temporal array before. The mad scientist said in an extremely exaggerated manner. Then, your cultivation speed is so fast because you often follow Yitian to the Hall of Fame? Qin Feiyong asked. More or less. But this doesn't deny my talent. Look at Feng Wanyun. He stays in the Hall of Fame every day, but I don't see how powerful he is. Zhao Xiaojin said. Feng Wanyun is also in the Hall of Fame? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Of course. He is the grandson of the 10th elder. With his identity and status wherever he wants to go, isn't it just a matter of a word from the 10th elder? Zhao Xiaojin pouted. Qin Feiyang asked, then, what are the conditions for others to enter the Hall of Fame? First of all, it must be talent and cultivation. Your cultivation must be at least the perfect imperishable realm. As for talent, you must comprehend a type of law. Secondly, you must go through a trial. According to Brother Yi Tian, this trial is quite difficult and very dangerous. If you are not careful, you may lose your life. Zhao Xiaojin said. At least the perfect imperishable realm? Qin Feiyang frowned. That's right. Zhao Xiaojin nodded. Then, don't you already have this qualification? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Since you already have this qualification, why not go to the Hall of Fame? I just broke through to the perfect imperishable realm a few years ago. And the trial of the Hall of Fame only opens once every 1,000 years. Originally, I planned to sign up this time to give Brother Yi Tian a surprise. But I didn't expect Feng Wanyun to appear halfway and expose my third profound of the law of light in advance. Zhao Xiaojin had a look of dissatisfaction. Then, how long until the next trial opens? The mad scientist asked. Zhao Xiaojin thought for a moment and said, it seems to be more than 300 years. 300 years. Qin Feiyang and the mad scientist looked at each other. 300 years should be enough for them to step into the great mastery of the undead realm. But there was definitely no hope for them to step into the perfect imperishable realm, unless they took the Dragon Phoenix Divine Pill. But it was too much of a loss to take the Dragon Phoenix Divine Pill at the perfect imperishable realm. The mad scientist asked, must one reach the perfect imperishable realm to sign up for the trial? Yes. This is the rule set by the alliance leader himself. Zhao Xiaojin nodded. It's a bit troublesome. The mad scientist transmitted his voice. Yes. If I really can't think of a way, then I can only take the Dragon Phoenix Divine Pill. Qin Feiyang secretly said. Then you have decided to enter the Hall of Fame? The mad scientist secretly asked. Yes. At the same time, I can also find out how many geniuses are hidden in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Qin Feiyang secretly smiled. Geniuses? The mad scientist smiled proudly and transmitted his voice. With the two of us here, are there any geniuses in this world? Don't. If you want to talk about yourself. Don't drag me into it. I don't have as much confidence as you, nor am I as narcissistic as you. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He really wasn't modest at all. Look at your cowardice. The mad scientist rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. What are the two of you flirting with each other for? Zhao Xiaojin looked at the two of them suspiciously. Nothing. Qin Feiyang smiled. Next, the two of them directly stayed in Zhao Eryong's house. Wang Shui also specially arranged a room for them to use for cultivation. In the first few days, Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin would occasionally appear and chat with the family. But then, it was rare for the two of them to appear. Although on the surface they were cultivating in the room arranged by Wang Shui, in reality, they were all in seclusion in the castle. Zhao Xiaojin was naturally cultivating as well. Zhao Yang was still the same as before. When he had nothing to do, he would ask his friends out to eat, drink, and have fun. In his dictionary, the word cultivation? That would never be possible. During this period, Zhang Sanbao had come to look for Zhao Xiaojin many times, but Zhao Xiaojin had been cultivating and had not seen him. This made him rather angry, but he could not flare up and could only endure it. The storm caused by Zhao Xiaojin and Feng Wanyun also gradually faded away. Perhaps it was because he was afraid of Yi Tian, but Feng Wanyun did not make things difficult for Zhao Eryong's family anymore. Everything slowly calmed down. At the same time, outside, there were more rumors about Qin Feiyang than before, and Winxi City was undoubtedly the center of public opinion. City Lord's mansion. I wonder how they are now. In a secret room, Zhuotiansheng, the city lord, an elder, you were gathered together. The one who spoke was Zhuotiansheng. They have the sovereign divine weapon. What are you worried about? The city lord smiled faintly. Even so, that is the alliance capital after all. It is the headquarters of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Zhuotiansheng sighed. If Zhuo Xiaoxian wasn't with Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin, he wouldn't care. But now that his daughter was by their side, if anything happened to the two of them, his daughter would definitely suffer. Alright, don't worry too much. This time, I called the two of you here to discuss Chu Yun's matter. The city lord shook his head with a trace of worry between his brows. At the mention of Chu Yun, Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu looked at each other and couldn't help but frown. All these years, Chu Yun has come to us more than once to ask us to join the Demon Palace. I think we should give her an accurate answer now. Otherwise, if we drag it out like this, sooner or later, her patience will be worn out. The city lord said. Zhuo Tiansheng shook his head and said, joining the Demon Palace is equivalent to betraying us. I don't think we can do that. But from Chu Yun's conversation, the Demon Palace knows the true relationship between us and Qin Feiyang like the back of their hand. If we don't agree, what if the Demon Palace spreads this news? The city lord was rather worried. It shouldn't be that bad. They want us to join the Demon Palace because they want to tie up Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. And prevent them from joining our Rogue Cultivator Alliance because of Xiao Xian. So if the Demon Palace is smart enough, they won't spread this news. Because if we are in trouble, Xiao Xian will be implicated. If Xiao Xian is implicated, Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo will naturally not be happy. This way it will backfire and make Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo unhappy. Elder Yu analyzed. Elder Yu's analysis makes sense. We really can't give Chu Yun an answer now. I personally think we should delay this matter. Zhuo Tiansheng said. Until when? The city lord looked at Zhuo Tiansheng and asked. Until Qin Feiyang and the others come out of the alliance capital. If what Chu Yun said is true, that the higher-ups of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance are colluding with the Blood Hall, then we have no choice but to join the Demon Palace. No matter how inhuman I am, I can't help the Blood Hall to deal with my hometown. Zhuo Tiansheng snorted. That's right. We were born in the Eastern Continent, and this land raised us. We can't tolerate outsiders trampling on it. Elder Yu nodded, and his eyes were also emitting a cold light. The city lord took a deep breath and said, all right then. When Chu Yun comes next time, we might as well tell her directly and wait for Qin Feiyang and the others to come out of the alliance capital before we decide. Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu nodded. As a member of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, it was really difficult for them to accept that the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Blood Hall might be colluding with Chu Yun. Moreover, Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo sneaked into the alliance capital this time to investigate this matter. However, when they thought about it, it was indeed unusual for the deputy alliance leader to want to kill Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo so much. So they were waiting to see what the truth was. Chapter 31:19. In the blink of an eye. More than 300 years had passed. After constant hard work, Qin Feiyang and Madman's cultivation had stepped into the greater mastery of the imperishable realm. Moreover, Madman had also comprehended the new war law to the third profound. However, Qin Feiyang's harvest was even greater than his. Not only did he comprehend the war law to the third profound, but he also comprehended the slaughter law to the third profound. In other words, now in terms of the power of laws, Qin Feiyang had officially surpassed Madman. What the hell? The fourth profound is so difficult to comprehend? In the hall of the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang and Madman sat opposite each other. Madman had a distressed expression. He had mastered 4 types of law powers. He had already raised 3 of them to the third profundity. Therefore, when he comprehended the third profundity of the laws of war, he began to comprehend the fourth profundity of the 4 laws. But after so many years he didn't make much progress. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The difficulty of the fourth profound is indeed far greater than the third profound. He also tried to comprehend the fourth profound. But after tens of thousands of years of meditation, he didn't gain anything. Of course, these tens of thousands of years referred to the time in the Black Tortoise realm. So, he decisively gave up and comprehended the third profound of the other types of law powers first. Now, karma law, thunder law, light law, war law, and slaughter law had all reached the third profound. Only the power law and wind law were left. After comprehending the third profound of these 2 types of law powers, he would slowly comprehend the fourth profound. No, I can't lose to you no matter what. Continue, I must comprehend the fourth profound. Madman suddenly stood up and walked towards the cultivation room. Qin Feiyong already had an absolute advantage in terms of quantity, so he could only surpass Qin Feiyong in terms of quality. As long as he comprehended the fourth profound, he would still be the winner. Then you're not going to the Hall of the Exalted? Qin Feiyong was taken aback and quickly asked. Not going. Madman answered without turning his head. Qin Feiyong was stunned. What a stubborn guy. But to be honest, he was relieved that Lunatic was not going to the Hall of the Exalted. First of all, Lunatic's personality was too flamboyant and unbridled. The second was the madman's divine power. Because of the special existence of the evil power, if he was not careful, his identity would be exposed. Therefore, not going was actually a good thing. However, right now, he and the madman's cultivation were only at the great accomplishment imperishable stage. It seemed like they didn't have the qualifications to enter the Hall of Fame. Qin Feiyong frowned and fell into deep thought. Did he really have to take the Dragon Phoenix divine pill? Boom! Suddenly, a powerful aura descended from the sky above the courtyard. Qin Feiyong was shocked. It seemed to be Elder Qing's aura. He quickly left the castle and appeared in the room. He walked to the window and looked up. He saw Elder Qing standing alone in the void above. In the meantime, Zhao Xiaojin and Wang Shui were also alarmed and quickly ran out. Jin, the Hall of the Exalted trial will begin in 3 days. Are you ready? Elder Qing landed in front of Zhao Xiaojin and smiled. Yes. Zhao Xiaojin nodded. This old man has high hopes for you. Good luck. Elder Qing smiled encouragingly, then took out a golden badge and gave it to Zhao Xiaojin. He then said, This is the proof of qualification for the trial. You must take good care of it. Without it, you won't be able to enter the trial grounds. Okay. Zhao Xiaojin took the badge, her eyes full of expectation. As long as she entered the Hall of the Exalted, she wouldn't have to secretly follow Brother Yitian in. The most important thing was that she could walk together with Brother Yitian openly in the future. Suddenly, Zhao Xiaojin seemed to have thought of something. She looked at Elder Qing and asked, What about Mo Wuhui? Can he register? In principle, he can't. Although he has comprehended the second profound meaning of the law of thunder, his cultivation is still at the small accomplishment imperishable stage. He is still far from the registration requirements. Elder Qing shook his head. That's a pity. Zhao Xiaojin sighed. In principle you can't, but you can be flexible. A small accomplishment imperishable stage has comprehended the second profound meaning. To be honest, his talent is not below yours. Such a person is worth cultivating. Elder Qing smiled slightly. Zhao Xiaojin asked, So, he can register? Elder Qing took out another badge and asked with a smile, Where is Mo Wuhui? Zhao Xiaojin immediately looked at Qin Feiyong's room. When she saw Qin Feiyong standing in front of the window, she asked, Where is your brother? Qin Feiyong flew out of the window and landed in front of Elder Qing. He cupped his hands and said, Greetings, Elder Qing. No need to be so polite. Elder Qing waved his hand and said with a smile, Quickly call your brother out. My brother. He left the Alliance capital. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said regretfully, Left? Elder Qing was stunned. Zhao Xiaojin and Wang Shui were also stunned. Did he leave? How come they didn't know? Qin Feiyong looked at the mother and daughter and said with a smile, My brother didn't want to disturb you, so he left quietly. Then this old man has been guarding the city wall. Why didn't I see him leave? Elder Qing was suspicious. Qin Feiyong laughed and said, Then he should have left from another city gate. I see. Then can you contact him? The opportunity to enter the Hall of Fame is really rare. Elder Qing looked at Qin Feiyong. When he left, he said that he was going to train and didn't want me to disturb him. Qin Feiyong shook his head. That's a pity. Elder Qing shook his head regretfully. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, It's not a pity. I can replace my brother. You. Elder Qing looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Zhao Xiaojin and Wang Shui were also stunned. Was this something that could be replaced? Elder Qing came back to his senses and said with a smile, This old man can understand your feelings, but the Hall of Fame is not something that you can replace just because you want to. I know. In order to reach the immortal realm, You have to comprehend a kind of law power before you are qualified. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then why did you say that you can replace him? Alright, there will be a chance in the future. Work hard. Elder Qing put away the badge and patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder. He smiled comfortingly and turned to leave. Boom! But at this moment, a terrifying battle intent suddenly roared out. Following closely, this battle intent with Qin Feiyang as the center, formed an invisible domain. Elder Qing, Zhao Xiaojin, and Wang Shui were immediately shrouded in comprehension. Zhao Xiaojin and her mother suddenly felt a strong sense of oppression in their hearts. Elder Qing was shocked and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. At this moment, although Qin Feiyang's figure still looked so thin, it was like a god of war had descended. The battle intent revealed. Even a perfect dominator like him felt a sense of oppression from the depths of his heart. What are you doing? Zhao Xiaojin came back to her senses and looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, the second profound of the law of war, the battle domain. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned. This guy actually mastered the law power? He really hit it well. I didn't expect that there was a hidden genius in my East City. Great. Elder Qing came back to his senses and immediately nodded with a gratified smile on his face. I really don't deserve to be called a genius. Qin Feiyang shook his head, withdrew the battle domain, and returned to his humble and amiable appearance. Don't be modest. Elder Qing smiled. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, your cultivation. Cultivation? Zhao Xiaojin also looked at Qin Feiyang and found that Qin Feiyang had broken through to the greater mastery of the imperishable realm. I just broke through. Qin Feiyang smiled. Not bad. The cultivation of the greater mastery of the imperishable realm, plus the second profound of the law of war, is no worse than your brother. You can replace him. After Elder Qing finished speaking, he took out the badge again and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Thank you, Elder Qing. Qin Feiyang bowed respectfully, and then sized up the badge. The badge was about the size of a baby's fist and seemed to be made of gold, shining with dazzling brilliance. On the front of the badge, there was the word Alliance, engraved with complicated lines. On the back there was the word Trial engraved. This is called the Trial Badge. I believe you all know its function, so I won't explain more. Prepare well. Elder Qing smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin nodded. Then I'll look forward to your performance. Elder Qing laughed in a hoarse voice. Then he turned around and disappeared like lightning. Zhao Xiaojin immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and said in surprise, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Don't be so surprised. You've already comprehended the third profound. What's mine, which is merely the second profound? Qin Feiyang was speechless. That's true. Zhao Xiaojin was stunned and nodded with a proud smile. Okay. There are still 3 days. You should go and adjust your state. Xiaojin, when you enter the trial, remember to help Fengyuan. Wang Shui smiled. It depends on my mood. Zhao Xiaojin glanced at Qin Feiyang and then turned to enter the attic. This wretched girl. Wang Shui shook her head and smiled at Qin Feiyang. Fengyuan, don't take offense. My daughter is like this. She has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. No. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. What had he not experienced along the way? How could he be calculative with a little girl? Yes. In his eyes, Zhao Xiaojin was just a little girl who had not grown up and was not mature yet. In the blink of an eye. 3 days passed. Morning. Many people rushed to the central city early in the morning. It was very lively. However, most people stopped at the border of the central city and did not dare to take a step forward. This was because the central city was the core area of the Alliance capital. Only the core members of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance were qualified to enter the central city. As for the people in the 4 major districts, they were definitely not qualified to set foot in. At this very moment, in the sky above the square facing the street in the central city, an old man in red was sitting cross-legged in the void. He did not have any aura on him and was like an ordinary old man. He squinted his eyes and seemed to be meditating. As for the crowd gathered outside the square, they looked at the red-clothed old man with eyes full of respect and fear. Obviously, this old man in red had a high status in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Chapter 31:20. Whoosh! Suddenly, accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, 5 young men and women flew over from the West City. There were 3 men and 2 women. They looked to be in their 20s. They were tall and had an outstanding temperament. "Greetings, elder." The 5 of them landed in front of the old man in red and bowed. The old man in red did not open his eyes. He said in a hoarse voice, "Where are the trial badges?" The 5 of them quickly took out the trial badges from their arms. The old man in red scanned them with his divine consciousness and fell silent again. The 5 of them also put away the trial badges and stood aside silently. Whoosh! After a while, a few people flew out from the South City and North City. There were a total of 6 people in the South City and 4 in the North City. All of them looked young. The men were handsome and the women were youthful and beautiful. After showing their trial badges, they stood aside and waited silently like the 5 people from the West City. At the same time, East City. "Why are you 2 only here now?" In the sky above the city lord's mansion, Zhang Sanbao looked at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin who were flying over and frowned. Zhao Xiaojin said indifferently, "Isn't there still some time before sunrise? What's the hurry?" "The appointed time is indeed sunrise, but we can't let them wait. At least during the first meeting, we have to leave a good impression on the Hall of the Exalted Elders." Zhang Sanbao was helpless. "All right, let's go," Zhao Xiaojin said with a hint of impatience in his tone. "Okay." Zhang Sanbao nodded. That moment, the 3 of them flew side by side toward the central city. Zhang Sanbao glanced at Qin Feiyang and then at Zhao Xiaojin. He seemed to have something to say. "Brother Zhang, you can speak your mind." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Zhang Sanbao was stunned. He did not expect to be seen through. He could not help but smile and said suspiciously, "I remember that the one who participated in the trial was your brother? Why is it you now?" "My brother is going to train and left the Alliance capital, so I'm taking his place." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "You're taking his place?" Zhang Sanbao was stunned. Could anyone take his place in the trial of the Hall of the Exalted Elders? "Why are you gossiping like a woman? Since Elder Qing allowed him to replace him, it means that he has the qualifications." Zhao Xiaojin glanced at Zhang Sanbao and said calmly, Yes, it's my fault. Zhang Sanbao nodded repeatedly. When Qin Feiyang saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Even a fool could tell that Zhang Sanbao had feelings for Zhao Xiaojin. But the falling flowers are willing, but the heartless flowing water is heartless. Zhao Xiaojin's thoughts were all on Yi Tian. As for Zhang Sanbao's identity, he more or less knew that Zhang Sanbao was the son of the East City Lord. He had a cultivation base at the Great Circle of the Imperishable Realm, and had comprehended a type of law. Could be said that, in the Alliance capital, Zhang Sanbao could be considered someone with a certain status and position. Unfortunately, his love rival was Yi Tian. As the eldest grandson of the Vice Alliance leader, and the top genius of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, Zhang Sanbao was nothing compared to him. Actually, this had nothing to do with Qin Feiyang, and he was too lazy to ask about it. Now he only hoped that Zhang Sanbao wouldn't hate him. Because he had been living in Zhao Xiaojin's house all these years, he was worried that Zhang Sanbao would misunderstand and see him as a love rival. At that time there would definitely be a lot of trouble. About 100 breaths. The 3 of them finally entered the sky above the square. Hee. Those who are related to young Master Yi Tian are indeed different, making everyone wait here. It doesn't matter if we wait, but it's not appropriate to let the Hall of the Exalted Elders wait like this. After all, even young Master Yi Tian himself has to be polite to the elders. As soon as the 3 of them arrived, the dozen people from the West City, North City, and South City all sneered. "I'm sorry." Zhang Sanbao smiled apologetically. One of the young men in black said, "Hurry up, don't waste everyone's time, we're all very busy." Sorry. Zhang Sanbao said apologetically and took out his trial badge. Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin also took out their badges. The old man in red finally opened his eyes, looked at the badges of the 3, and said, "Where's Mo Wuhui?" Zhang Sanbao said respectfully, "Elder, Mo Wuhui went out to gain experience, so Mo Wuan took his place." "What?" "The Hall of the Exalted Assessment actually went out to gain experience." Who does he think he is? So disdainful of the Hall of the Exalted? Besides, this is the Hall of the Exalted assessment. How can others take his place? What a joke, do you think this is child's play? The people from the other 3 districts immediately sneered again. Zhao Xiaojin raised his eyebrows and said, "Do you have nothing better to do? You've taken care of yourself and now you want to take care of others?" People related to young Master Yi Tian. Even the tone of their speech is different. A red-clothed woman chuckled. Who knows me? Zhao Xiaojin doesn't know that I always speak like this. What does it have to do with Brother Yi Tian? I think you're just looking for trouble. Why don't you stop talking nonsense? If you're not happy, come out and fight. Zhao Xiaojin looked at the woman in red provocatively. A cold light flashed in the woman in red's eyes, and she sneered and said, "We don't dare. If anything happens and young Master Yi Tian investigates, we can't bear the responsibility." "Shut up if you don't dare," Zhao Xiaojin shouted coldly without mercy. "You!" The woman in red's face turned cold. "Enough." At this time, the elder of the Hall of the Exalted spoke. Everyone immediately fell silent. The elder glanced at Qin Feiyang and said indifferently, "Since you are replacing your brother, and you only have the cultivation of great success Undying Realm, the fact that old man Qin gave you the trial badge means that you also have the qualifications. Work hard." "Yes, elder." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right then, give it to this old man." The elder of the Hall of the Exalted glanced at the crowd, then turned and flew to the center of the central district. More than a dozen young men and women from the West City, North City, and South City glanced at Qin Feiyang and quickly followed. I didn't expect him to be only at the Immortal Realm. Yes, the Immortal Realm in the Immortal Realm is qualified for the trial. It seems that he can't be underestimated. Not necessarily. Maybe it's Elder Qing who asked him to make up the number. More than a dozen young men were secretly discussing. At the rear, Qin Feiyang and the other 2 were still walking side by side. I knew something would happen. Zhang Sanbao sighed. We're all of the same age. Why are you afraid of them? Zhao Xiaojin rolled his eyes at Zhang Sanbao. I'm not afraid. I'm worried that they'll join forces. Look, 5 people from the East City, 6 from the South City, and 4 from the North City. We have the least people in the East City, only 3 of us. This situation is already very bad for us. If they join forces, our situation will be even more worrying. Zhang Sanbao was worried. Useless. Zhao Xiaojin pursed his lips. Well, I'm useless. I'm useless. Zhang Sanbao shook his head helplessly and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Brother Wien, I also know some things about you. You should also know the rules of the trial, right? You know about me? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. I heard that it's the first time you and your brother came to the Alliance capital. Zhang Sanbao smiled. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with an imperceptible light. He smiled and said, I didn't expect Brother Zhang to be so well informed. It was obvious. This Zhang Sanbao had investigated him and Madman. After all, I'm in the City Lord's mansion. News comes quickly. Since you don't know the rules, then I'll tell you. Zhang Sanbao smiled. I'd like to hear the details. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. The training ground is in a space that is isolated from the rest of the world. It is said that there are a lot of divine objects and beasts inside. It is a place where opportunities and dangers coexist. So when we go in later, I really don't want to be enemies with people from the other 3 districts. Because if we are targeted by them, then the chances of us passing the trial will be very slim. Zhang Sanbao sighed. Listening to what you said, those who participate in the trial can kill each other? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. Do as you wish. Zhang Sanbao nodded. This isn't right. We're all from the Alliance capital. It's not easy to comprehend the power of law. If we die because of the trial, wouldn't it be a loss for our Rogue Cultivator Alliance? Qin Feiyang frowned. That's right. Every person who has comprehended the power of law is as rare as a phoenix feather or a Qilin horn. The higher-ups will naturally not let us suffer any casualties. Zhang Sanbao nodded. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, if there are no casualties, then what's the point of this trial? Of course there's a point. This is a trial that tests one's combat awareness, ability to deal with things and brains. In short, Whether you pass the trial or not, as long as you get the trial badge, you can enter the Hall of the Exalted. However, the treatment for those who pass the trial and those who don't are very different. Zhang Sanbao explained. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and asked curiously, what's the difference between those who pass the trial and those who don't? Those who pass the trial can directly enter the core of the Hall of the Exalted and enjoy the best cultivation resources and environment. You should know that the Hall of the Exalted has a time array. And those who pass the trial can directly enter the space-time law to cultivate. Zhang Sanbao said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, what about those who don't pass the trial? Those who don't pass the trial can only stay in the outer sect of the Hall of the Exalted. Do you know how the core disciples address the outer sect disciples? Handyman. In other words, handyman. I don't know what you and Xiaojin are thinking, but I really don't want to stay in the outer sect and be ordered around as a handyman. Zhang Sanbao shook his head. There's actually such a rule? Qin Feiyang frowned. It seemed that in order to get close to the deputy chief, he had to become a core disciple. Don't worry, no matter how they unite to deal with us, I will definitely lead you to pass the trial and become a core disciple of the Hall of the Exalted. Zhao Xiaojin said coldly. Qin Feiyang and Zhang Sanbao looked at each other and shook their heads with a bitter smile at the same time. This woman was really domineering. Looking at her, she didn't put the people from the other 3 districts in her eyes at all. Chapter 31-21. The Central City District was made up of many houses. Every single house was extremely large. Even the smallest house was several miles in size. There were many halls, high and low, and they were magnificent. According to the secular world, if the 4 major districts were slums, then the Central City District was the rich district. Although there weren't any spacious streets or bustling streets, every place was luxurious. Because the people who lived in the Central City District were all core figures of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. They were either powerful or had extraordinary abilities. In short, none of the people who could live here were ordinary people. The group passed through the city, and about 100 breaths later, they appeared in the sky above a square. The square was about 10,000 feet wide, and there was a teleportation passage that looked like a spatial rift. On one side of the square there was a stone tablet. The stone tablet was engraved with the words Training Grounds in a flamboyant style. The elder led a group of more than 10 people to the square and said indifferently, "This is the entrance to the trial ground." Everyone looked at the entrance curiously. I won't say much about the rules. Whether you can pass the trial will depend on your own ability. There will be people waiting for you on the other side. Go in. With that, the elder turned around and retreated to the side. The people from the West City, South City, and North City looked at each other and stepped into the space-time passage one after another. Be careful. Zhang Sanbao looked at the backs of those people and secretly warned with a serious expression. Zhao Xiaojin glanced at Zhang Sanbao, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "After you go in, don't run around. Stay by my side at all times." Okay. Qin Feiyang replied secretly. She was going to protect him. Sure. Coincidentally, he was too lazy to make a move. However, when he entered the space-time passage, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of suspicion. Inside the space-time passage, everything was pitch black. However, Qin Feiyang could clearly feel that his body was shuttling through at a terrifying speed. Xiaojin, didn't your father say that it's impossible to activate altars or space-time teleportation in the Alliance? But why is there a space-time passage here? Qin Feiyang asked secretly. Zhao Xiaojin transmitted. It said that this space-time tunnel was personally set up by the Alliance Master. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. The Azure Wave Snow Mountains barrier was created by the Alliance Master, so he naturally had the ability to set up a space-time passage here. Just now, the elder of the Hall of the Exalted said that someone is waiting for us on the other side. Then what does it mean? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The entrance and exit of the trial grounds are in different places. In other words, the entrance is in the central city, and the exit is somewhere else. Zhao Xiaojin thought to himself. Does that mean that the Hall of the Exalted is not in the League capital? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. Yes, I didn't. But it's also in the Kanglan Snow Mountain, in a place west of the city. You'll know when you pass the trial. Zhao Xiaojin thought to himself. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. It seemed that what he knew was only the tip of the iceberg of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Ahead. Finally a ray of light appeared. As they continued forward, the light became more and more dazzling. After a few breaths, they flew out of the space-time passage and landed in the sky above a majestic mountain range. As far as the eye could see, they were surrounded by an endless mountain range. The towering peaks were like giant swords, towering into the sky and exuding a majestic aura. The majestic mountain ranges were like giant dragons lying on the ground. However, there were not many plants in the mountains, and the spiritual essence here was very thin. It could only be described as desolate. The scariest thing was that even though there were countless fierce beasts here, it was very quiet. Although we have brought a lot of divine crystals, the spiritual essence here is too thin. It's best not to engage in meaningless battles here, so as not to waste divine power. Zhang Sanbao whispered. If the spiritual essence was too thin, they could only rely on divine crystals and divine power pills to replenish their divine power. Qin Feiyang did not mind. There were countless divine crystals in the Black Tortoise realm. As for divine power pills, as long as he wanted them, Dan Wangkai could make him a pile in minutes. However, the atmosphere of the trial grounds made him feel a little uncomfortable. It was too quiet. Let's go. Zhao Xiaojin glanced at the dozen people in the other 3 districts and flew forward. Qin Feiyang and Zhang Sanbao followed closely behind. At the same time, the dozen people in the other 3 districts looked at each other, and their eyes flashed with a hint of viciousness. Swish! Following closely behind, more than a dozen people moved out in unison. They used auxiliary divine techniques and surrounded Qin Feiyang and the other 2 like lightning. Zhao Xiaojin raised his eyebrows and stopped in the void. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Were all the people in the Alliance capital so direct? They attacked as soon as they came in. Zhang Sanbao's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly said with a smile, "Everyone, what is the meaning of this? It has nothing to do with you." A purple-clothed youth in the West City spoke. "It has nothing to do with me?" Zhang Sanbao was stunned. So they were here for Zhao Xiaojin and Mo Yuanchu? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, "I don't think we've done anything to offend you." "No, you haven't. But we just don't like you and don't want you to pass the trial." The red-clothed woman who had been competing with Zhao Xiaojin looked at Qin Feiyang and Zhao Xiaojin and sneered. "Don't like you? This reason is a bit lame. We're with Zhang Sanbao, but you don't target him and only target us. I'm afraid it's not as simple as you say." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "You're quite smart." The red-clothed woman looked at Qin Feiyang mockingly. Zhao Xiaojin frowned and said, "Cut the crap. What do you want? Just say it. I want you all to die here." The red-clothed woman's eyes were filled with killing intent, and her divine power roared out as she slapped toward Zhao Xiaojin. "You think you can do that?" Zhao Xiaojin smiled coldly, raised her jade-like hand and punched. Although it looked thin and weak, it contained terrifying power. Boom! The fist and the palm met. Both of them took a few steps back at the same time. Because the red-clothed woman was also at the perfect undead realm, their cultivation and strength were the same. "How dare you be so arrogant by yourself?" The purple-clothed young man in the west side of the city roared, and he also dove and punched toward Zhao Xiaojin. He was also at the perfect undead realm. Zhao Xiaojin stabilized her body, and instead of retreating, she moved forward, and her divine power surged out of her palm. Boom! The fist and the palm collided again. After 2 consecutive exchanges, Zhao Xiaojin's face couldn't help but turn pale. "Genius girl of the east side of the city, I'd like to see what you're capable of." The red-clothed woman sneered, and immediately attacked Zhao Xiaojin with the purple-clothed young man. "Brother Wen, let's retreat first." Zhang Sanbao pulled Qin Feiyang and retreated far away. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Sanbao and frowned. "Brother Zhang, are you really letting a woman fight them alone? What else? There are so many of them. We can't beat them at all." "But don't worry, I'll try my best to talk to them." Zhang Sanbao comforted him, then looked at the other 13 people in the 3 districts and said anxiously, "Everyone, can we talk nicely? It's none of your business, shut up." The black-clothed young man shouted. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Sanbao's performance and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It was no wonder that Zhao Xiaojin didn't like him, and it was also no wonder that Zhao Yang didn't like him. This person was really useless. The woman he liked was already in danger, and he still wanted to negotiate? To put it nicely, it was called being indecisive and looking at the big picture. To put it bluntly, it was called having no backbone and being timid. How could such a person make a woman like him? Looking at Zhao Xiaojin again. Even if it was 1 against 2, she wasn't at a disadvantage at all. The terrifying battle fluctuations were earth-shattering, and the mountains and rivers below collapsed one after another. This battle awareness is not bad. There was a trace of praise in Qin Feiyang's eyes. In comparison, Zhao Xiaojin's battle awareness and experience were above the purple-clothed young man and the red-clothed woman. However, it was hard to say who would win or lose. After all, neither of them had used all their strength yet. Brother Zhang, they are so bold. Aren't they afraid of being punished by the Hall of the Exalted Elders? Qin Feiyang suddenly transmitted his voice. Zhang Sanbao said to himself, what happens here, the outside doesn't know at all. So you're saying that no matter what we do here, no one will know? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. So this is the problem I'm worried about. If they really fall out, even if they kill us, they can completely blame it on the beasts in the trial ground. At that time we will all die in vain. Zhang Sanbao said gloomily. Is that so? Qin Feiyang nodded. Zhang Sanbao said angrily, if we can use the heaven-defying artifact here, I have some confidence. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was stunned. It means that this trial ground can't activate the heaven-defying artifact and heaven-defying divine technique. Zhang Sanbao said in a deep voice, there is such a rule? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. Zhang Sanbao nodded. What about the power of law and other divine techniques and artifacts? Qin Feiyang was curious. As long as it's not a heaven-defying artifact or divine technique, everything else is fine. Zhang Sanbao said. So that's the case. Then this is considered a good thing. Qin Feiyang muttered. Good thing? Zhang Sanbao was stunned. Yes. Since you said so, you should have a heaven-defying artifact on you. Since you have it, I'm afraid they have 1 or 2 too. If they can really activate the heaven-defying artifact, then our situation will be even worse, right? Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Zhang Sanbao heard this and thought carefully before nodding. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang said, all right, we can't sit back and do nothing. Quickly go and help. But Zhang Sanbao was a little hesitant. You're at the peak undead stage. What are you afraid of? Qin Feiyang frowned. But the other party also has a peak undead stage and there are 6 of them. Zhang Sanbao glanced at the other side, at the 13 people who were also watching the battle and frowned. Among the 13 people, 7 of them were at the peak undead stage like the purple-clothed young man and the red-clothed woman, and the other 6 were at the peak undead stage. Chapter 3 Release at 10 a.m. Chapter 31-22. Looking at the overcautious Zhang Sanbao, Qin Feiyang completely gave up. This person was hopeless. Originally, he wanted to help Zhang Sanbao. He could predict that Yi Tian would not be together with Zhao Xiaojin, so Zhang Sanbao still had a chance. However, the prerequisite was that he had to be like a man and face all dangers. However, he did not expect it to be like this. With his personality, he could do a small business, but it would never be possible for him to do anything big. Boom! The battle between Zhao Xiaojin and the purple-clad youth became more and more intense. The 3 of them had already begun to use their divine techniques and divine artifacts. With their status, they naturally had paragon-grade divine artifacts and divine techniques. The collision of divine techniques, divine artifacts, and divine power caused the world to dim. The beasts below were also alarmed. However, other than a few beasts, most of them were watching the battle from afar. They did not seem to be afraid. As expected of the East City's genius girl, she can actually fight with the 2 of them until now. A muscular young man spoke. He was at the peak of the Undying Realm and was 2 meters tall. He was burly and valiant like a giant. That's just a struggle before death. A green-clad youth next to him laughed sinisterly. He was about 1. 7 meters tall, and his body was so thin that he was just skin and bones, just like a bamboo pole. His eyes were even more peculiar. They were long and narrow like a snake's eyes. They were suffused with a cold light. That's right, a struggle before death. The muscular young man laughed loudly. His voice was like thunder. Boom! However, just as the muscular young man laughed, the law of light appeared along with the sound of a sword. Zhao Xiaojin grabbed the sword of light and slashed at the purple-clad youth and the green-clad youth. Law of light, sword of light. The two men's expressions changed abruptly. Caught off guard, they hurriedly retreated and narrowly avoided this fatal sword strike. A struggle before death. Are you talking about me? Zhao Xiaojin pointed her sword at the muscular young man and the green-clad youth. Yes, I'm talking about you. The muscular young man nodded. All right then, come and die. The sword of light in Zhao Xiaojin's hand trembled, and a destructive light immediately rushed toward the muscular young man. Do you really think you're invincible just because you have the law of light? Defeat us first. The purple-clothed young man and the red-clothed woman shouted as they activated their power of law at the same time. The purple-robed youth waved his hand and a fiery light rushed out. In the next moment, a scarlet-red battle blade appeared. As the woman in red raised her hand, a wave of water surged and turned into a 3-foot-long divine bow. The first profundity of the laws of fire, blade of fire. The first profundity of the law of water, water god's bow. Humph! You dare to be arrogant with just the first profound? Zhao Xiaojin snorted coldly and no longer held back. He immediately activated his third profound, holy radiant sword. Clang! After a series of clashes, the blade of fire and the water god bow shattered on the spot. The purple-clothed young man and the red-clothed woman were also injured by the terrifying sword chi, and were forced to retreat. In just an instant, their bodies were drenched in blood. It really is the third profound. When the young man and the others saw this, their eyes could not help but darken. They had already heard about the battle with Feng Wanyun back then. This woman was indeed not easy to deal with. The purple-clothed young man and the red-clothed woman looked at each other, their eyes filled with unwillingness and jealousy. They were all from the younger generation of the Alliance capital. In terms of age, they were all older than Zhao Xiaojin. However, they had only comprehended the first profound, but Zhao Xiaojin had already taken out the third profound. Let me do it. The young man took a step forward, and a terrifying power of law immediately surged out. The surrounding void immediately began to collapse. This is... Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. This power of law was formless and colorless, but one could clearly feel a vigorous aura. That's right. This was the power of law. If it was 300 years ago, I would definitely not be your match because my power of law had only comprehended the second profound. But now if I want to kill you, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. The young man smiled proudly, and his 2-meter-tall body began to expand. The violent power around him became more and more terrifying. Finally, a giant that was 10,000 feet tall appeared before everyone's eyes. That's right. It was 10,000 feet tall. It was like a towering mountain. 10,000 feet tall divine body. The young man opened his mouth, and his voice was deafening like thunder. As his voice fell, his mountain-like giant hand covered the sky as it slapped toward Zhao Xiaojin. The void and the earth shattered and collapsed. It was like the scene of the end of the world. Not to mention his 10,000 feet tall divine body. Even in the hands of his giant beast, Zhao Xiaojin was like a tiny ant. But Zhao Xiaojin did not retreat at all. The holy radiant sword shone brightly as it slashed toward the giant hand. Clang! The young man's giant hand stopped in the void, but it was immediately shattered by the holy radiant sword. Zhao Xiaojin also spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. 10,000 feet tall divine body. This is the third profound of the power of law. At this moment, his physical body and strength have reached the level of a high-grade heaven-defying divine object. In addition, his cultivation is higher than Xiaojin's by a small realm, so Xiaojin is not his match. Zhang Sanbao said in a deep voice. So, the profound of the power of law is mainly to strengthen the physical body and strength? Qin Feiyang asked. Although he had already grasped the power of law, he still did not understand the profound of the power of law. That's right. The first profound, a 100 feet tall divine body, is equivalent to a low-grade heaven-defying divine object. The second profound, a 100 feet tall divine body, is equivalent to a mid-grade heaven-defying divine object. The third profound, a 10,000 feet tall divine body. The fourth profound, a 10,000 feet tall divine body, is comparable to a pinnacle heaven-defying divine object. I'm not his match. Although I'm also at the peak imperishable stage, I've only comprehended the first profound of the power of law. Anyway, I can't continue like this, or else you'll really die. Zhang Sanbao panicked. Go to hell. At this moment, the young man's roar was like the sound of a heavenly bell. The giant hand that had been blocked by the holy radiant sword slammed toward Zhao Xiaojin again. Boom! Zhao Xiaojin smashed into the ground like a meteor. A huge pit appeared. Zhao Xiaojin lay at the bottom of the pit, his body covered in blood. Xiaojin! Zhang Sanbao roared. You'd better not move, or we'll kill you even if you're the son of the East City Lord. The man in green looked at Zhang Sanbao coldly. Zhang Sanbao shrank his neck, his eyes full of fear. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Sanbao. It seemed that he couldn't count on this person, so he had to do it. Swish. He teleported and landed beside Zhao Xiaojin, smiling. Are you okay? I won't die yet. Zhao Xiaojin got up with Qin Feiyang's help, took out a divine life pill, and threw it into his mouth. You can't even protect yourself and you still have the mood to care about her? The young man looked down at Qin Feiyang from above, his eyes filled with contempt. Qin Feiyang looked up at the young man and smiled. The people you want to kill are Zhao Xiaojin and my brother, right? That's right. It's your brother, but since your brother went to train, we can only kill you first to collect some interest. The young man said. I understand. Qin Feiyang nodded. Understand what? The young man was stunned. Qin Feiyang said. Feng Wanyun should be behind all of this. The young man's pupils constricted. The man in green and the others couldn't help but look at each other and frown. Are you wondering how I thought of this? It's actually very simple. This is the first time we brothers have come to the Alliance capital. Other than Feng Wanyun, we haven't offended anyone else. I was wondering why Feng Wanyun didn't come looking for trouble with us after being humiliated by Zhao Xiaojin and my brother. Could it be that he has changed his mind and doesn't want to bother with us? So he's waiting for the trial to open and tampering with the trial grounds. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Haha, smart. But smart people don't live long. The robust young man roared with laughter as he withdrew his hand that was like a mountain, and then he clenched it into a fist that shattered space and the earth as he smashed it towards Qin Feiyang and the young man. Step back. Qin Feiyang was about to make a move when Zhao Xiaojin, who was behind him, pushed Qin Feiyang away. Qin Feiyang wasn't prepared at all. He almost stumbled and fell. What are you doing? He steadied himself and looked at Zhao Xiaojin in confusion. With your cultivation level, you're not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Zhao Xiaojin snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang was stunned. All right, don't cause trouble for me. Just step aside and watch. Zhao Xiaojin waved her hands. Create trouble? Qin Feiyang felt somewhat helpless. She was really a domineering woman. However, this feeling of being protected was quite satisfying. Although Zhao Xiaojin was a woman. All right. He would watch then. Since she was so confident, she should have a trump card. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang returned to Zhang Sanbao's side in an instant. She's too stubborn. Zhang Sanbao frowned. I quite admire her. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. How can you still smile? I'm almost worried to death. Zhang Sanbao glared at Qin Feiyang angrily. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. There's nothing to worry about. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Bang! Click! In the blink of an eye, the burly young man's huge fist had already landed. The law of force. Zhao Xiaojin looked up at the fist and sneered. It's indeed very powerful. However, you don't have the ability to kill you. Bang! As soon as she finished speaking, Zhao Xiaojin's aura suddenly soared. In just an instant, her cultivation level rose to the perfected indestructible realm. This, Zhang Sanbao, the man in green and the rest were instantly stunned. When did she break through to the perfected indestructible realm? I see. Qin Feiyang also had a look of realization. It turned out that she was hiding her cultivation level. It was no wonder that she was fearless. However, Zhao Xiaojin had personally said that she had just broken through to the perfected indestructible realm. How did she enter the perfected indestructible realm so quickly? Clang! Just as everyone was feeling bewildered, Zhao Xiaojin waved her hands. The law of light surged and the holy light sword appeared again. She grabbed the holy light sword and leaped into the sky. Her aura was like a rainbow and she slashed at the burly young man's fist. Chapter 31-23. Boom! Along with an earth-shattering explosion, the holy radiance sword and the muscular youth's giant hand collided. A wave of destructive energy instantly spread out in all directions with this place as the center. The void shattered and the ground collapsed. Qin Feiyang and the others could not help but retreat. Ah! The muscular youth screamed in pain. A wound had appeared on his giant palm that was comparable to a high-grade godly object. Blood was gushing out. But at the same time, a crack also appeared on the holy radiance sword. Zhao Xiaojin also had blood dripping from the corner of her mouth. Because the muscular youth's body was also a third profound, its power was comparable to the holy radiance sword. In addition, both of their cultivations were the same, so it was a tie. The tip of the holy radiance sword kept colliding with the muscular youth's palm. Dazzling sparks shot out. The muscular youth was clearly made of flesh and blood, but he was actually so powerful. The law of force was indeed extraordinary. Suppress! The muscular youth roared. His voice was like thunder, shaking the heavens and earth. A terrifying power surged out from his palm. It was like a mountain that covered the sky. Zhao Xiaojin, who was below, was like a tiny ant. However, Zhao Xiaojin did not show any signs of being suppressed. The law of light frantically surged into the holy radiance sword. Sword Qi roared in all directions and fought with the muscular youth. Genius girl, I can't accept this. What are you dawdling for? Kill her. The woman in red stared at Zhao Xiaojin. Her eyes were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred as she roared at the muscular youth. The muscular youth also felt a great sense of humiliation. He was a 7-foot-tall muscular man, but he could not deal with a woman? The anger in his heart was like a volcano that could not be controlled. The law of force continuously surged into his arm. The power that poured out became more and more terrifying. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not suppress Zhao Xiaojin. In the hearts of you men, should women be naturally weaker than you? What a laughable thought. Zhao Xiaojin smiled coldly. Then she suddenly retreated. She used an auxiliary technique and instantly appeared behind the muscular youth. Although the young man's body had grown larger, his movements were not slow at all. He quickly turned around and punched Zhao Xiaojin. In this world, no one can be underestimated, especially us women. Zhao Xiaojin's eyes flashed with a cold light. He grabbed the radiant saint sword with both hands and dodged slightly, dodging the young man's fist. His aura roared as he slashed at the young man's left shoulder. Clang! Rumble! The two met in an instant. The radiant sacred sword shattered with a loud bang. Zhao Xiaojin was also sent flying, his face pale. But at the same time, the burly young man also let out a painful howl. A wound appeared on his left shoulder, and blood spurted out. The next moment, the entire arm fell off from the shoulder and smashed into the ground with a loud boom like a mountain. That was right. Although Zhao Xiaojin was heavily injured, one of the muscular young man's arms was also chopped off. The blood from the wound poured out like a waterfall and dyed the sky red. Stinking bitch. I'll kill you. The young man was enraged. He raised his other arm and smashed it towards Zhao Xiaojin. Your mouth is so dirty. Zhao Xiaojin stabilized herself in the air and dodged the young man's arm. She soared into the sky. In just an instant, she was above the young man's head. The radiant sacred sword appeared once again. Die! With a fierce roar, she flipped in the air. Her feet were facing up while her head was facing down. She grabbed the radiant sacred sword tightly with both hands and stabbed it towards the young man's head like a meteor. The young man had already lost an arm. The other arm that was aimed at Zhao Xiaojin did not have time to retract. So now, he did not have time to counterattack. No, feeling the bone-piercing sharpness, he could not help but roar in horror. However, Zhao Xiaojin was not moved at all. The radiant sacred sword went straight for the young man's head. Whether it was a human or a beast, the head was more fragile than other places. If Zhao Xiaojin really succeeded in this attack, then the young man would definitely be annihilated in body and soul. A wave of fear drowned the young man. However, at this moment, the green-clothed man and the others who were observing looked at each other and soared into the sky at the same time. Boom! All kinds of law profundities were activated in an instant as they attacked Zhao Xiaojin. You guys are too despicable! Zhang Sanbao roared. Zhao Xiaojin was also shocked. She did not expect these people to be so shameless as to attack her together. Do you only know how to shout here? Don't you know that this is a sign of incompetence? Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Sanbao, shook his head and sighed. Zhang Sanbao was a little angry, but before he could speak, he saw Qin Feiyang erupt with a monstrous aura. The law of thunder surged out. At the top of the clouds, thunder dragons appeared, exuding a destructive heavenly might. The third profound, the wrath of thunder. This is. The group of people immediately raised their heads and looked at the thunder dragons in surprise. With me here, do you have the right to hurt her? Qin Feiyang was incomparably domineering. The thunder dragons instantly merged together and turned into a huge dragon. It roared from the sky and charged towards the green-clothed man and the others. Damn it! This is the law of thunder, the third profound. The green-clothed man roared. What? It's the third profound again. The expressions of the others changed. They no longer cared about the life or death of the young man and joined forces to attack the thunder dragons. Zhao Xiaojin also looked at the thunder dragons in shock, and then killing intent surged in her eyes. The tip of the sacred radiance slammed into the young man's head. Crack! With an ear-piercing crack, the young man's head began to crack. At this moment, the fear in the young man's heart rose to an unprecedented level. Don't kill me! He bellowed. But it was useless. Zhao Xiaojin roared and poured the law of light into the sacred radiance, causing it to become even sharper than before. Crack! With another crisp sound, the young man's skull shattered on the spot. The holy radiance's body-tempering sword directly entered the young man's head. Go to hell! Just as the hilt of the sacred radiance was about to plunge into the young man's head, Zhao Xiaojin slammed her palm against the hilt. The sacred radiance was like an arrow, piercing through the young man's sea of consciousness and shattering his soul. It then pierced through his neck, pulverizing his organs, and came out from below. Ah! The young man screamed at the sky, his remaining arm flailing wildly in an attempt to kill Zhao Xiaojin. But how could Zhao Xiaojin let him have his way? In a few moments she had retreated far away. After struggling for a while, the young man collapsed to the ground with a loud bang, dying on the spot. At the same time, the green-clothed man and the others clashed with the thunder dragons. More than a dozen people had joined forces, and all of them had activated their law of intent. In fact, 3 of them had even comprehended the second profundity of their laws. But even so, they did not immediately destroy the thunder dragons. The thunder dragons were like the incarnation of the god of thunder, terrifying beyond compare. Even though they were destroyed in the end, the dozen or so people suffered varying degrees of injuries. If not for their cultivation being higher than Qin Feiyang's, this attack would have been enough to kill them all. Brother Fateless, you... On the side, Zhang Sanbao was also dumbfounded. He had never imagined that this person whom he had always looked down upon would actually be the same as Zhao Xiaojin, and have already comprehended the third profundity. However, compared to Zhang Sanbao, Zhao Xiaojin was even more shocked, because Zhang Sanbao did not know the law of war. But Zhao Xiaojin knew the second profound of the law of war and the third profound of the law of thunder. This bastard had hidden it so deeply. After so many years there was no trace of it at all. On the other side, the green-clothed man and the others were also staring at Qin Feiyang. They had never imagined that the person they had constantly mocked and ridiculed from the beginning had hidden such terrifying strength. Below, the young man's vitality had completely dissipated. When they saw the young man's corpse, the group of people was stunned again. A complete imperishable stage cultivator, who had comprehended the third profound of the law of strength, had died at Zhao Xiaojin's hands just like that? How could this woman be so strong? Whoosh! Zhao Xiaojin took a deep breath and swallowed another divine life pill. She landed beside Qin Feiyang and said in a low voice, "I'll settle this with you later." Settle this with me? Qin Feiyang was stunned. What was going on? In any case, he was the one who had saved her. Not only did she not say a word of gratitude, she actually wanted to settle this with him. Women were indeed unreasonable creatures. Zhao Xiaojin ignored Qin Feiyang and looked up at the green-clothed man and the others. She sneered and said, "You should be prepared to die. Die. If Mo Fateless hadn't stopped us, you would be a corpse now." The green-clothed man laughed sinisterly. "You have the nerve to say that? Even if Mo Fateless attacked, there were only 2 of us. What about you? 3 districts, a total of 15 people. This is your ability." Zhao Xiaojin's face was full of disdain. "Don't be arrogant." The red-clothed woman shouted. "That's right. Although Mo Fateless has comprehended the 3rd profound, you still have to die." The green-clothed man laughed sinisterly. "Is that so? Then let me have a look." Zhao Xiaojin waved her hand and the holy light sword appeared. She took a step forward and charged towards the green-clothed man and the others. However, at the same time, the green-clothed man and the others sneered even more. Qin Feiyang looked at this scene and couldn't help but frown. What's going on? They were all so fearless. Could it be that they still had some tricks up their sleeves? Or was there someone among them who was hiding their cultivation? Just as Qin Feiyang was deep in thought, he suddenly felt a trace of killing intent behind him. He was suddenly shocked. But before he could react, he felt a pain in his lower abdomen. He looked down and saw a blood-stained sword tip on his lower abdomen. Blood flowed down the tip of the sword drop by drop. "Sorry." It was also at this moment. An apologetic voice sounded behind Qin Feiyang. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."